For those who love volleyball, working hard and doing their best on the field to win is something they always desire. However, for a person who always makes mistakes like Chae-hyuk, conquering that peak is not easy. Luckily, after meeting Min-hon, a friend with the same intention, their passion motivated them both to decide to work together to find the perfect pieces to build a powerful team. Each member has a different personality but has become a harmonious team. Creating the victories could not have been more satisfying. Lee Chae-hyuk is 16 years old, a male student at Chongho Middle School. He has played volleyball since elementary school, and is currently in the position of striker of the team, or in other words, the position of attack mainly on the left flank. After practice ended, the whole team continued to encourage each other. Everyone worked hard. Yes, everyone worked hard today. The coach was also happy to announce, next week is the last match of high school, so please stay focused and play well until the last minute. After seeing that his student seemed distracted, the teacher immediately reminded him, okay, next week if his performance is like today, it will be very difficult. He suddenly replied awkwardly. Yes, I'm sorry, while I was complaining, I kept wondering, now I don't know anymore. The instructor continued to look at the other two male students, his voice full of pride. That's right, our Odin and Min-hon. They are the teammates who started playing volleyball with Chae-hyuk. And the ability of both of them is indisputable, as even the coach himself has to admit, the key members of our team. Thanks to you guys, I feel more secure, playing on the Odin team. In the counterpass position, is the person who will stand on the opposite side of the second pass in the spiral, mainly attacking from the right, and the person taking on the second pass position is none other than Min-hon. It can be said they are all geniuses. Not like Cheetah. The person he always comes to confide in when he loses faith in himself can only be his biological uncle. Chae-hyuk's uncle, named Lee Do-ho, is a former professional volleyball player, constantly encouraging him. He heard that Chae-hyuk won the match today. Congratulations. Seeing him stay silent and not answer, made Do-ho feel curious. Why is he so moody today? Then suddenly I heard a sigh of disappointment from the side. Do you still like volleyball? Immediately realizing the problem, Do-ho immediately lowered his voice. Yes, until now, he has retired as a player, but, aren't you happy? Chae-hyuk shook his head slightly and replied, I'm not sure anymore, facing your question when I said, why did we win the match today? Immediately heard a guilty answer from Chae-hyuk, it was all thanks to Odin and Min-hon, I just made a mistake. After comforting his nephew with an affectionate pat on the head, why was he so gloomy? Do-ho also gently analyzed, Chae-hyuk, do you know who is the most difficult opponent among the players I have ever met? The main attacker, brother SEO of the team Dakai-bit, heard this and suddenly his eyes widened in surprise. Dakai-bit, isn't that team considered the strongest? Do-ho immediately smiled and said. Next, a lot of people know that, but from my point of view, when it's a direct opponent, the reason that team is strong is because, support from behind so they can focus on attacking. When the attack has difficulty, go directly. Come out to solve the problem. That is the existence of Father Hyung SEO. A perfect attacker, able to coordinate both attack and defense. An overlooked player becomes the team's key player and helps the team shine. Cha Hyung SEO is the team's biggest weapon and final fortress. Borrowing this source of inspiration, Do-ho immediately advised, damn, you don't need to yell at the main character. Think about what you need to do for your teammates. We will turn ourselves into the main character. Hearing those precious words made him suddenly awake. It felt like my closed eyes were opening. Then it seemed like I was continuing to be caught up in the sentences. Do-ho's next words. I don't know yet, so try your best when competing next week. Thanks to that, Chae-hyuk's depressed mind was cleared up. I feel like I have found my future goal. After finishing his thoughts, he suddenly regained his composure and replied loudly, I will try my best, making Do-ho feel extremely satisfied. Then let's go, we must win. A week later, in the gym of Taedong Middle School, the two sides were still playing quite evenly, with the current score being that Chongho was winning the right to serve, and the person in charge of kicking the ball this time is none other than Chae-hyuk. He held the ball in his hand and reminded himself, acknowledge the difference. The ball was thrown into the air very quickly, along with a powerful kick. Get past the defense, hit the right winger. Very quickly was successfully handled by the opposing team, then attacked straight towards Chongho's defense. His precise ball retrieval and lemongrass roll received a lot of compliments. Very good, hee. His performance has not been impaired because of his strategy and focus on his playing style. Standing in front of your team's difficult ball, seeing his teammates confidently rush forward with determination, made Chae-hyuk constantly tell himself, I will throw the ball perfectly like Min-hon, even though that pass was blocked. But suddenly I realized that I couldn't even make a strong breakthrough like Odin. The ball is still flying freely in the yard. But Chae-huk has made up his mind, I can make the whole team shine in my position. Again, that's what I have to do to win. After realizing that his teammates had blocked that difficult ball, Chae-huk also rushed in with the thought, get ready for the next attack. Another ball successfully passed through the defense of his teammates. Made him think quickly, there was no time to support anymore. Rather, giving the opportunity again. The ball came quite suddenly. So it seems like Min-hon isn't ready yet. Chae-huk still keeps wondering, what should I do if I attack quickly? After hearing someone call his name, Min-hon felt extremely surprised. Since when did you run over and save the team from losing a goal? Then quickly said loudly, pass it, and that's what he can do for his team. On the road to victory. After a powerful smash that caused the ball to hit the opponent's court, he helped his team score a valuable point and win the next serve. Finally, Chae-huk also realized the meaning of the words that Uncle D-ho told me, I don't need to be the main character. After winning, my team will be the main character. At the end of the match, all three seemed to have had a chance to understand each other better. Odin also shyly opened his mouth. Hae-huk, what's going on today? It's really crazy, isn't it? Min-hon was also full of praise. Yes, you did very well today. By the way, Chae-huk also has a question. Seriously, which high school did you go to? I quickly received an answer from Min-hon. Daeon SEO school. From the beginning volleyball has been my hobby. I just want to enjoy it as a hobby. What about you? You said you were going to play volleyball, right? Faced with Min-hon's question, Ki-huk didn't hesitate to admit, well, I failed, so I also went to Daeon SOC school. They say you can't see talent, I know me now. Seeing Chae-huk's sadness, Odin also felt regretful. After receiving the question from him, you passed, right? Odin then humbly replied, that's why I moved to Chungcheong, I will officially start there. Both are having fun. Suddenly discovered Chae-huk's disappointment, causing Odin to quickly try to encourage him. Hey it's okay, don't you know how to play volleyball there? What does it matter where you play? Chae-huk also tried to regain his composure, even teasing him, that's right Min-hon, kick his ass and let's play together, making him enthusiastically exclaim, hey still keep in touch please. After the two teammates took turns saying goodbye, then it's time to go home. Let's go home, I'm also hungry, I'm the only one making suggestions, I'll rest a little more, go home first. After being alone, Chae-huk kept thinking to himself, what does school have to do with him? As long as I can play volleyball, it doesn't matter. At Daeon SOC High School, after approaching the school's gymnasium, Min-hon started to make judgments. Yes, he could even hear the sound of the ball. Chae-huk also continued by making inferences. I heard that the volleyball club uses the gym apparently here. Faced with his friend's hesitation, but can we come right away like this? He asked with a lack of confidence on his face. Is that okay or just watch? Just watch. They finally agreed to approach the door of the gym. Chae-huk just said hello, is this the volleyball club? His eyes suddenly lit up when he saw an athlete was hitting the ball so powerfully that he couldn't help but marvel. So strong, this was the high school volleyball team. After the ball is thrown off the practice field, an athlete named Kim Dan-hoo, who plays in the passer position, immediately asked, let me go get it for you. He suddenly discovered two people standing at the door. I quickly asked who you guys were, and he answered shyly, yes, we are first-year students and want to join the volleyball club. Quickly understanding the problem, Dan-hoo curiously asked again, volleyball, do you like volleyball? Chae-huk while wearing my Min-hon and confidently affirming, yes we like it. Dan-hoo heard that and immediately gave honest advice, if you want to play volleyball, it's better not to come here and deny yourself. Before he could finish speaking, he heard a loud scream, Achan. Then, there was a slap from him to his teammate, hey what are you doing, why are you blocking my ball? The other player covered his face and trembled as he replied, why, you have to block it to win, right? That answer made him even angrier, so why only block my shadow, what does it feel like? The loud call interrupted his rage, hey Joseph. If anyone comes, yes. Joseph turned around to observe and angrily asked, who are you guys? Chae-huk still calmly introduced, we are first-year students, we want to join the volleyball club. Joseph suddenly felt interested and quickly made a suggestion, is that so? So come in here, let's see how capable you are. The person at the helm is none other than Sin Du-sep, captain of the volleyball team of Daeon SOC High School, and is currently in charge of take the opposite position. Faced with that request, he even seemed happy, oh really, is that okay? I quickly received the answer, Kim Dan-hoo has released you two from the group, let's join. Hearing that, he excitedly suggested, Min-hon, let's fight for a bit and then go. Min-hon, do you have time? At this moment, a line of thoughts suddenly appeared in his friend's mind, don't go to the volleyball club, making him unable to understand. Min-hon, What are you thinking? Why is your expression so gloomy? Well, what's the problem? As soon as he finished his thoughts, Chae-huk quickly called out, "What are you doing, Min-hon? There's no problem with time, right? Finish the fight and go." Although she tried to look interested, Min-hon couldn't help but glance at her, silently observe the actions of the players. The atmosphere in the competition room is also getting hotter now. Chae-huk warmed up and expressed his doubts. Our group didn't seem to have a libero. Min-hon heard that and confidently reassured him, "After all, you're here, I trust you, damn." Chap quickly announced excitedly, "Let's begin, everyone is ready." Then, he suddenly stopped. When he saw a teammate commanding everyone in the yard, it made Joseph extremely angry. Kim Dan-hoo, that name. I don't want to see him pretending to be the trump card. Today I will trample on these rookies. After a powerful spin shot towards the opponent, Min-hon turned around to dodge the ball. I immediately had a plan in mind about the strategy. First of all, I had to see how the gameplay was going. Prepare to attack naturally. The attacker runs out from behind, confidence in attacking from behind. So, starting from the master. But when he saw the player in the attacking position suddenly stop, made him think that this was the wrong choice at the right time, causing Min-hon's hand to move by inertia. After Dan-hoo's ball smash, along with a strong ball retrieval by a team player, Chap's tone is full of sarcasm. Kim Dan-hoo is truly talented. I'll show you what a real ace is. Then he rushed like flying to catch the ball. But I didn't expect Chae-huk to rush in and successfully stop it. Joseph couldn't help but shout out in anger, "This boy." While he looked extremely happy and burst out laughing, Min-hon secretly rejoices, "Thanks to Chae-huk, we have the first point. Keep this pace." Another phase where the ball was flying freely on the field. Joseph was still confident in his command. The ball was long without touching the ball. It was definitely outside the field. Before he could finish speaking, he saw the ball lightly touch inside the field line. Joseph immediately became extremely bitter. Why is that so accurate? Probably just luck. The next serve was again made by Min-hon, and a more perfect block from your team. After Dan-hoo's unsuccessful block, the player was also starting to hesitate at this time, as long as he could save the ball. Okay, is there no one there? After that, he promptly rushed to block the ball decisively, and constantly reassure the rest, "Don't worry about the future. Attack and score points." Dan-hoo is still trying to attack. Immediately he saw Joseph's anger. His scream made him jump, but hesitantly raised his hand to catch the ball. Quickly score an extra point for your opponent. Min-hon also felt shocked. He intentionally missed the ball. Why did he get points? Because he didn't block the ball. But before he could finish his thoughts, he saw Chap physically impact Dan-hoo's body. After that, he kept cursing, "You bastard, can't you handle that crooked heart? Do you want to be left behind?" That action made Chae-huk stunned. What is that? Is he hitting someone else because he couldn't catch the ball? Min-hon immediately calmly replied, "Probably." Chap's recent outrageous actions have truly exceeded Dan-hoo's tolerance limit. He responded angrily, even in the presence of a new student. The atmosphere in the stadium was suddenly silent, making Min-hon constantly wonder, the atmosphere on the other team is so strange. That would be good for our team. As soon as he finished his thoughts, he made a powerful smash, overcoming your opponent's defenses. As soon as Dan-hoo looked, he could see that one serve fell right on the baseline and one serve fell right in front of the net. He must have aimed for the second pass to hide behind the net, controlling the ball very well. Chae-huk also quickly commented, "The price of passing the first ball is not good." Then quickly encouraged, "Just relax, I will follow. Your suggestion means I will block the ball, cover the area to prevent the possibility of the blocking side touching the ball and the ball fall into the gap on the blocking side. No, in the school volleyball club, need to stick together." While Dan-hoo is always highly concentrated, and try your best to suddenly hesitate when in battle. From the position of bending both hands, he quickly moved to relax them. That's from the blocking position. Switch to open. While Min-hon's eyes were quite tense, follow every movement of the ball. Then Joseph seemed extremely satisfied. "That's right, we have to open the barrier if we don't want to be beaten again." Min-hon felt like he couldn't continue playing anymore, so he whined, "What have we been doing here all this time?" Even Chae-huk had a hard time accepting it because he thought that, like this, which is called a star volleyball team, "I shouldn't have come here to do these things," then called out seriously, "Min-hon, now my body has warmed up, right? I was just going to hit it a little bit, but it didn't work." There is also a male student outside who is hesitant. Is he playing volleyball? Can we just watch? Then I boldly opened the door and kept telling myself, just look a little, just a little. Unexpectedly, after what happened, Chae-huk still didn't want to stop and whispered, "Min-hon, have you warmed up enough?" I was just planning to play a little but it seems like it's not working. Minhon heard that and answered honestly, yes, my body has been warmed up. After that, I immediately received Chae-huk's resolute statement, not yet. I think I'll probably have to try a few more times. The competition between the two teams continued, with a precise block from the player standing behind the ball. Dan-hoo's heroic roll to save the ball, making Minhon unable to take his eyes off. After a failed drop shot, the ball was quickly thrown out of the field, made Minhon feel helpless before his teammates playing tactics. And then it continues to score points for the opponent again, even though Minhon still chose to stay silent. But my teammates' playing conditions still couldn't be better. Knowing full well that perhaps my teammates were too stressed, Minhon, instead of turning a blind eye, boldly spoke up, "Hyung, you can jump even higher, right? I feel a bit frustrated. Can you jump as much as you can?" Meanwhile, Chae-huk had a good shot at blocking the ball. The ball flew through the barrier, and fall freely inside the opponent's court. Chap, even though he was angry, still spoke sarcastically, "What are you doing? The score you get is just blocking the ball out, that's so funny." Minhon was dumbfounded, thinking. Suddenly discovered something. Immediately showed determination. "Found it, I'm sure." Continued a new serve. While the defenses of both were facing extremely tense situations, Joseph continued to threaten his teammates, "That's right, that's good, if you block him you'll fall behind." Chae-huk was also sighing, again. The ball falls again. But that doesn't make Minhon's fighting spirit decrease. Chae-huk rushed to block the ball and shouted loudly, "Minhon again." In that difficult moment, he silently realized. Minhon started playing volleyball as a hobby. He is the main passer. The reason it's called a genius is, control the ball delicately. And with that, the batsman's jumping habits, best jumping point, polishing point and the best time to do it. Once he grasps everything, he will point the way to that batter's potential. As custom setting, Minhon is a two-passer that also helps the whole team. After he breathed a sigh of relief, then his face was filled with surprise. It was unbelievable. Even Dan-hoo also absent-mindedly observed. Joseph looked extremely angry, those names. Before he could finish speaking, he heard his teammates whispering, "Joseph, those guys used the needle Dan-hoo 5 times in a row." After learning about this, he interrogated him, "You said that Kim Dan-hoo is used a lot, right?" After the next serve, is Joseph directly hitting the ball. Seeing that Chae-huk was having a hard time keeping up with his moves, making him constantly proud in his heart, he had only been defending until now, but it turns out he couldn't attack. Minhon also appeared extremely confused when he realized his team's strategy. Ba blocked the ball. It seems shallow, but really can't make it difficult to criticize. When he was quite calmly facing, then protested with a rather strong blow, because he is a main hitter after all, just opened the gym door. The new male student's eyes widened in surprise. He was so good. He is Jong Tik Young, a male student at Daeon SOC High School, who excitedly continued, "If we all played volleyball like that, it would be fun, right?" At this time, Chae-huk also took the opportunity to get acquainted. "Dan-hoo, right, let's go compete together. It's a conference. The conference sounds strange but I think it will be fun if we, Hon and I play together. We really like volleyball. I really want to participate in a volleyball competition in high school." Unexpectedly, Chap interrupted angrily, "He didn't pass. If he didn't pass the test, now go away." Of course, criticism cannot be easily accepted and responded frankly, "What is the reason?" He did not hesitate and confidently gave himself the right to make decisions. "Because you played poorly, that's why, today's test failed and disbanded." In fact, he has an evil thought in his heart, "These guys are absolutely not allowed in. The main character should go play somewhere else." I didn't expect that Chae-huk had no intention of giving up and even raised his voice to provoke me. "Is it because you couldn't keep up with the pace? Is it fun to play volleyball like this?" He immediately stopped, his tone full of surprise. He was just a rookie and he was still bad at this game. Seeing Chae-huk, he began to loudly question, "Why, did I say something wrong?" Causing him to be unable to control himself and say loudly, "You must be beaten too," while raising his hand to calculate the physical impact. I didn't expect to be stopped so quickly. The person who acted chivalrously was none other than Dan-hoo, who responded indignantly, even with a first year, he did that, making Joseph couldn't help but be surprised and loudly ask back, "What are you doing?" Refused to give up. Dan-hoo now seemed to have gained strength and boldly declared, "Give up, now I can't give up anymore." Joseph heard that and asked curiously, "Why give up, volleyball?" Very quickly I heard Dan-hoo answer back decisively, "No, I will continue to play volleyball properly." Then quickly looked at the remaining members and emphasized, "What about you guys, isn't this boring? Player number 4 soon hesitated, making him angry, and responded with a warning look. Made him tremble and shake his head. Seeing that, Giuseppe's face immediately became happy again, confidently challenging, "It seems you guys like this place. What should we do? You 3 have to go." Then suddenly heard Minho's suggestion, "All the kids in the school who know how to play volleyball are here. If you're looking for a team member, play a decent game, or don't play together." Giuseppe heard these words and quickly nodded in agreement, but why is this guy's way of speaking so incompetent? "Okay, let's compete, then." Not stopping there, he confidently proposed that the losing side should not think about playing volleyball at school in the future. "It's okay, because Joseph's heart still contains the thought, even though I can't find a team member anyway, this time I'll definitely have to step on it." Minho here also loudly declared, "If you want to be good, we agree. From what happened just now, it seems like we will win if we find enough members." He also calmly responded, "Okay, let's see how long we can cause trouble." A male student who had just arrived asked, "Is this the volleyball team? Who is it?" Young also responded with a curious attitude, "Why is the atmosphere like that? Is everyone arguing?" That male student heard that and asked again, "Who is arguing?" causing little Young to startle and exclaim, completely startled. He also teased, "Why so surprised? A new student? Me too, I'm Hasian." Both of us answered while looking towards the training ground. "I also chose Dang Young, my name is first-year student, I said it the wrong way." Hearing you say that, Ha-sung immediately burst out laughing, "What's so stupid?" "Huh, who said there would be an argument?" Young also quickly corrected, "I don't know, it's just a bad atmosphere, that's all." Ha-seon's eyes were suddenly surprised, "Why is he here?" Among the 3 people who were passionately discussing on the practice field, he turned his attention towards Minho. Combined with the constant greetings from Ha-sung, he couldn't help but gasp. "You are because of Minho, right? Then you are here again." Then enthusiastically asked again, "Why are you here?" making Chae-huk also curiously ask, "Who is that? Who is Minho? Do you know him?" I immediately received a negative answer from him, "No, no." That cold sentence made Ha-seon quickly angry. "I don't know why I came here." Minho also responded with an angry wave of his hand, "What are you talking about? Who are you?" In the end, he received a non-stop answer. It's okay if he doesn't remember. If the elite kid used to play volleyball here, he would have said it all. "Oh, it's a hobby, there are many reasons." Not stopping there, Chae-huk also accidentally got caught up in Ha-seon's deception, "And you, from Changho Middle School, right, who only makes mistakes every day. I don't know your name, but you know it too." That statement was like a blow that made Chae-huk unable to keep silent anymore. "So then, you're here with us too?" His mocking eyes and new words, "I'm not going, and you failed, right? Where is Odin? I don't see red hair. He must be stuck." The conversation made Joseph curious. What are they doing? Are they good? I can't believe they did it. It seems that the gray-haired guy is also an elite person, he doesn't seem close. Then that's great, if he joins my team he can definitely trample on them. As soon as he finished his thoughts, he said loudly, "Hey, stop." Then he quickly leaned into Ha-seon's ear and said in a friendly manner, "You came here to play volleyball, right? That's good. I've decided to play with them. Play in my team, the match is in 3 weeks. You also want to trample on those kids, right?" Ha-sung's eyes suddenly filled with excitement and exclaimed, "Great." Then eloquently declared, "I will help you win. Please play well, Minho, and middle school boy Changho, right?" Young still doesn't understand what's going on, how the atmosphere got worse. Ha-seon is right, it's amazing that he came close to me. "It's okay Young, you can do it too, you're determined that going to high school will be different." After encouraging himself, he tried to muster up all his courage. "Speak loudly, hello." Then immediately imagine negative words, "Why do you play volleyball? Where is this fat guy going to get in?" Young also responded with a startled look. When the whole group stared at him like a strange phenomenon, the whole group suddenly had the same thought, "Get out of here, you stinky thing, quickly go away." Young started shaking like a leaf, her voice faltering, "Little brother." Then decided to turn around and rush like hell towards the main door. Soon it was time for the next school day. Young seemed to be very tense when she saw Minho. Yesterday he was at the gym, turned out to be in the same class, studying so hard. Then he was startled when he saw someone appear and put his hand firmly on the table. That person was none other than Chae-huk, who was eagerly calling, "Minho, let's go eat." After receiving a surprising attitude from him, "I'm here, I heard that Senior Dan who is also eating together." But, very quickly I received a nod from Chae-huk. Yes, I plan to go now, making Tik-Young also surprised to realize, he was also the person who was with me yesterday. Chae-huk quickly discovered his friend standing at the door yesterday, and warmly spoke first. Hello, I'm Lee Chae-huk, friend of the person sitting next to him. He also smiled back. Hello, I'm Tik-Young. Very quickly I received a request from you, Tik-Young, let's get close, your body is so beautiful. Do you like volleyball? Tik-Young's face suddenly darkened, his voice faltered. That, me. Minhon sitting next to him quickly reminded him, hey, stop it, you're making him panic. Chae-huk also seemed quite confused at this time. I'm sorry, Tik-Young, are you okay? Followed by an urging sentence, go quickly Lee Chae-huk. Tik-Young, I'm sorry, he bowed his head and replied, yes, then vaguely remembered the past. At that time, I had to endure a beating and listen to disparaging words. Do you like volleyball, with that body? The classmates of the same age continued to compete with each other and insult each other. Anyone can play volleyball, so let me play. Can you dance? What are you looking at, you pig? Aren't you going to close your eyes? At that time, Tik-Young could only bow her head and tremble, eyes filled with indignation. Every time I think about the past, that resentment boils inside me. Even though Tik-Young had to try to reassure herself more than once, nothing was over. But still can't stop blaming. That's the volleyball team I was looking forward to. Why can't I open my mouth? After happily saying hello, we're here, we're here. Chae-huk suddenly exclaimed. The second-year class said the same thing. Minhon standing next to him quickly spoke up. It's no different than this idiot. I didn't expect to receive an admiring answer from Chae-huk. He has a really nice body. Causing Dan-hoo to also look at his classmate questioningly. In-guk's body is beautiful, on the basketball team. This information made Chae-huk look extremely disappointed. Basketball team, what a pity. Dan-hoo also laughed in response. What a pity, let's go eat quickly, I'm hungry too. Chae-huk asked curiously as he left, but Minhon, which member should we choose? He thought for a moment and then came up with a strategy. First of all, a reliable and solid middle ground. It made Chae-huk immediately think, I guess, ing-gu is right, what a pity. Dan-hoo walking next to him also happily made a suggestion. If it weren't for fate, he would be the middle blocker for you. After all, he was confident about his height. Unexpectedly, Minhon agreed immediately, right? So, you are very tall. And as for Libero and Chae-hud, the main attackers, it would be great if we could find a professional and strong beater. While he was talking, he suddenly turned his attention elsewhere. The sound came from the gym, right? Dan-hoo immediately enthusiastically confirmed, yes, it wasn't practice today, causing Chae-huk to immediately make a suggestion. So what is it? We come inside. Is a male student standing alone in the training ground. He also quickly discovered a whisper behind his back. Minhon, is that Tik-Young? It seems so, but... Dan-hoo was also curious and asked who Tik-Young was, and immediately received an explanation from Minhon. He was just my classmate, while Chae-huk kept admiring him, indeed. But the body is different. Minhon suddenly felt curious. When he heard Chae-huk ask, he was very shocked. Is he playing alone now? Whatever the reason is. I heard Chae-huk enthusiastically making a suggestion, but why play alone? I'll come and play with him. But Minhon immediately spoke up to stop me. Wait a minute Chae-huk, just try it out. Tik-Young was now staring intently at the ball in his hand. The determination from when he was a child reappeared in his mind. One day I will, playing volleyball with my teammates. Won't be lonely. But unlike that clumsy toss, the current Tik-Young has extremely strong resilience. With a courageous smash, the shot is precise down to the millimeter, making Minhon happily exclaim, found it. Even Chae-huk also recognized with admiration, a cannon, a praise for excellent hitters in volleyball, handball, baseball. Even Dan-hoo was surprised, so strong. Chae-huk couldn't wait any longer and rushed over. Tik-Young, what's wrong with you? So amazing, it made him startled. His eyes were filled with wonder. When did this happen? Both Minhon and Chae-huk praised. Tik-Young is playing volleyball. That's good, he played so well. Why was he like that just now? Unexpectedly, he suddenly cringed, his voice faltered. That was. Then try to calm down, constantly remind yourself, you have to change, don't be afraid, open your mouth Tik-Young. He closed his eyes and said loudly, can I also play volleyball with you guys? Actually, I overheard what you guys were talking about here yesterday. You guys need team members, right? Since I only practice alone, I might not be able to help much. Even so, I also want to play volleyball with everyone. T.I.K.Y. just finished speaking trembling, then glanced expectantly. Wrong thoughts appeared in T.K.Young's head again. How can we do that with you? I don't want to, I don't know if I'll get sick. Those negative thoughts made him extremely embarrassed and confused, but still kept reassuring myself, no, don't be afraid T.I.K.Y. I didn't expect to receive the same answer. Very good. Chae-huk even proactively suggested, let's play together. T.I.K.Y. seemed unable to believe what he was hearing, so he hesitantly asked again, really, I can too. After that, I immediately received a bright smile from Chae-huk. If you play with us, I should thank you. Even Min-hon also kindly invited, let's play together, T.I.K.Y. Seeing that he still seemed hesitant, by the way I had never played a team game before, I quickly received encouragement. It's okay, you're good at hitting the ball, right? That makes me, Cancer seems to be motivated, I'm confident about it. Not only that. Min-hon heard this and quickly interrupted, that's enough, leave the rest to us. T.I.K.Y.'s face immediately lit up, followed by a handshake that represents an agreement to join the team. Then curiously asked, are there nearly enough members? Hearing Chae-huk's announcement, there were at least 2 people left, making T.I.K.Y. look and want to confirm again. So now there are 4 of us, huh? Chae-huk nodded slightly in confirmation. Yes, you are the first to join the team, please help T.I.K.Y. The whole group was still laughing and having fun when they discovered that In-gug was appearing nearby, so they called out. Hearing that, he bewilderedly replied Dan-hoo. What are you doing here? Dan-hoo also happily replied, oh, I stopped by the practice room with my juniors for a while. Chae-huk still enthusiastically interrupted, hello, we are first-year students in the volleyball club, on the same team as Dan-hoo. Hearing this, In-guc seemed very excited, is that so? Very nice to meet you guys. Dan-hoo immediately asked curiously, are you ready to practice? In-guc nodded and admitted, yes, I am preparing to go to the basketball court to practice. The voice suddenly panicked, the people behind were also preparing to leave. Hearing that, In-gugu immediately introduced himself, hey, they're also in first year. Sang-hyung, let's go now, will we go together? The man heard the call, looked back in bewilderment, but a second later his face changed. Why are you pretending to be so close? It's so dirty. The group of friends who came along also urged Sang-hyung, let's go, making In-gu suddenly feel confused. Dan-hoo also had a feeling that his classmates' group of friends didn't look right. In-gug immediately shyly said goodbye, Dan-hoo, and, I have to go too. After saying goodbye, Dan-hoo was lost in thought. I think In-guk also heard it. Until Chae-ha asked, are you leaving now? I'm so hungry, what should I eat now? Let's eat kimchi and tuna soup. Until the whole group disappeared together. Suddenly, the silhouette of a male student who was watching appeared. His eyes were full of wonder. He was on the volleyball team, right? He is a male student at the same school as Chae-huk. Belongs to class 2 out of 3. Let's listen to him talk a little bit about himself. My name is Choi Si-don. The number of followers on social networks is up to 1.1 million. As a typical superstar of Daejeon SOC High School, a lot of people at school like me. But, my classmates don't care about me, because of the name Kim Dan-hoo, and more. Since last week, and at noon the first years also came to see him. Even though I'm frustrated, I have to admit that the kid named Do Min-hon is also handsome, of course he's better than me. Can't leave it like this. Must use some trick, which, it seems like Min-hon also feels like he's in the spotlight. It's so hot, why is he always staring at me? His face lit up with joy when he saw his idol and greeted him. He also showed joy, saying hello, coming again, huh? Dan-hoo was also curious and asked, are you playing basketball today? When he heard that, he enthusiastically suggested, can we go watch? In-gug quickly nodded in agreement, okay, let's go together. It's like finding gold and happily exclaiming, so today let's go watch Mr. In-gug compete. Very soon they reached the basketball court. The atmosphere is extremely exciting. The 3 people stood attentively observing and did not forget to discuss, that is unknown, In-gug's team score will be okay, right? At this time, Sang-hyung is also participating in the match. His eyes observed the ball quite flexibly, with the ability to tackle the ball quickly, and kept the ball extremely fiercely, surpassing many opponents, including Indians. Fast forward to the finish line. In-gug quickly approached and stood directly in front of him, making Chae-huk standing outside immediately hold his breath because of suspense. It's so exciting, can In-gug stop me? Unexpectedly, Sang-hyung was still holding the ball, preparing to put it in the basket. In-gug now assessed the situation, quickly jumped up to block the ball, causing it to immediately fall freely in the yard. Making Chae-huk open my eyes again, I couldn't hold back my excitement and exclaimed, I'm crazy, can I stop it like that? In-gug was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief, fortunately. Before I could finish speaking, I heard criticism. This is a bit too much, isn't it? Why would a black person do that here? Can we get rid of him? It's really unbalanced. Dan, who's standing outside, also felt dissatisfied. What are those people talking about? In your face is dirty because you continue to listen to the insults and restrictions of giving birth. I can't play anymore. Since the beginning, we've been different from each other. In-gug is being criticized by someone. That sarcastic voice is mocking him. Is it a limitation of giving birth? I can't play anymore. Before he could stop, the other person's voice echoed incessantly. From the beginning it was already different from us. This dark-skinned guy's hand had tightened, his veins were bulging like alcohol. Someone's hand tried to tap hard on the iron grate next to it. Another young man appeared. This Dan Hu guy seemed very upset by what he said earlier. His face was full of irritation and he shouted, "Those guys." Standing in front of two guys who didn't know how to be polite. One guy had a shaved head, the other guy had hair covering his eyebrows. Lee Chae-huk immediately asked them, "Apologize." They were confused and asked him, "Are you who?" Lee Chae-huk didn't pay any attention to their questions. What he paid attention to was the apology they had to say. Like I said, apologize to In-gug immediately. The other two people were confused by his statements. They asked Lee Chae-huk, "What does he have to do with it? Do you know this person?" Lee Chae-huk suddenly stared at the other person and asked, "You're a first year, right?" The guy with the shaved head immediately asked again, "Do you know me?" Gradually he also remembered, it was you, the one standing in front of the room with Mr. Ingu. In-gug in the soccer field heard the conversation between Chae-huk and the other two kids. "Is it In-gug's friend?" "That's right, I saw him." Lee Chae-huk immediately denied, "He's not a friend, he's an acquaintance of mine." That guy is still stubborn, he's really a friend. From behind, the Dan Hu guy came forward and said, "Sorry my friend." Immediately, his voice became a little angry, his face also became more scary. While Ingu remained silent inside the football field, the guy with the hooded hair still scoffed, "Why is it me? Isn't that true?" Without any technique, just confident with that body, right at this moment, the In-gug foot suddenly turned on its heel. He slowly walked towards the two Lee Chae-huks, making the two guys look confused. On the contrary, the other guy kept asking himself, "Am I wrong?" His anger had reached its peak. Dan Hu shouted loudly, "This guy." In-gu just gently stopped the conflict between the two sides. "Dan Hu, stop it." He consoled himself, "It's okay, stop now." Dan Hu said unwillingly, "In-gug, they are now." Ignoring Dan Hu's words, In-gug turned around and left. "I'll go first, sorry." Dan Hu's call rang out in the quiet atmosphere of the training ground. In-gug. A few hours had passed in an instant, in front of the men's bathroom door. The sound of water gurgling next to the lava potty. In-gug was drowning in sadness in front of the mirror. Perhaps he was depressed by what he said earlier. In-gug began to remember the time before. At that time he was still an elementary school boy but was slandered by his classmates. "Mom, there is a black student in my class." The other boy spoke again, but he was the only one with black skin, so there was no one else. As soon as he finished speaking, the person the boy mentioned was standing right in front of him. That boy immediately recognized him. "That's it, Mom. Why is it so black? It's so strange." The mother asked the boy, "Are you close to that child?" The boy replied, "No one is close to him, don't be friends with him." From a young age, Ingu was made fun of by others. He was very self-conscious about his skin color. "I was teased for being different from others." Looking at those kids laughing and talking about the last match. "Yesterday I watched basketball with my dad. Laurent Kem did this." "Kem, is he a foreigner?" "Yes, he's black and he's cool." "Is he black?" All eyes turned to In-gug. The kids asked, "Do you look like him?" "No, he's not cool. I started playing basketball because I didn't want to be made fun of and practiced day and night." Rubbing soap on my hands, as if trying to hold back tears, I scrubbed my dark skin clean. Even though I had the skills to be able to play well, from the beginning, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't hide my emotions. In-gug burst into tears like a child, and I couldn't change my wrong view. Their mistake. The next morning at the school where In-gug was studying, someone's voice rang out. It was that In-gug. "So it's Lee Chae-huk and his friends, you said. Let's bring him to our team." Dan Hu asked again, "Is it In-gug?" Lee Chae-huk expressed his discomfort. No matter what he thought, In-gug played very well despite being treated like that. I was so angry that I couldn't stand it. Du Min-hon replied, "Stop causing trouble. That's something that In-gug will decide, not something we can shoulder." Dan Hu also added, "Yes, how can we do what we want, but we can still tell him." Hearing that, Dan Hu immediately thought. 2 moments later, at the school cafeteria. The sky is very clear. All four of them were sitting at the same table as Ingu. After a moment of silence, Lee Chae-huk also decided to take action. His eyes began to turn, and Dan-hoo on the other side also did the same. Oh-din also turned his eyes to follow both of them, only Min-hon closed his eyes and ignored the world. With the fiery energy of the four boys, Lee Chae-huk babbled again and said, "That, Mr. Ingu, is the drink good?" Ingu was immediately surprised by the question he received. He raised the can and replied, "Hey, I just drank it for the first time, isn't it delicious?" There was no other way, Lee Chae-huk could only laugh it off. "I was so happy, the guy next to me was bored and didn't want to talk, so he thought, really stupid, he couldn't even say it." Once again the atmosphere returned to the original, suspicious silence between meetings and recesses. Dan-hoo had to come to the rescue. He asked In-guk, "Is basketball fun, will you continue to play?" In-guk replied, "I will continue to play, I'm only good at this one thing." Suddenly, someone's voice broke through the conversation, and the other kids had gathered again. It's still the same two arrogant guys from a few days ago. They pointed their fingers at In-guk and mocked. "They are very close to each other, it's really sick. Let's see how long it will take." Lee Chae-huk couldn't bear it anymore. He gritted his teeth and said, "Those scoundrels." In anger, he unintentionally helped Chae-huk have the courage to speak out his wishes. He slammed his hand loudly on the table and said to In-guk, "Please play volleyball with us." Even though he has that much strength, he still has to receive such treatment. He doesn't need to play there anymore. In-guk was surprised by Chae-huk's suggestion. His face was bewildered and he asked, "What are you doing?" "Playing volleyball." Lee Chae-huk is still enthusiastic. He said, "Yes, your height and physique are both strong points when playing volleyball." However, Ingu still didn't seem to want to speak. Even so, Min-hon immediately spoke up, "Of course the decision is up to you. We will try our best so that your efforts are not ignored. I say this because I want you to practice." Dan-hoo also agrees with them. "That's right, In-guk, don't be too pressured, think slowly." In-guk's self-esteem gradually subsided, but he still needed a little more time. "Thank you for thinking about it because it was a bit surprising." After saying that, he lowered his face and thought about Dan-hoo's words just now, and his efforts. Looking at the can in front of him, he wondered, where was not despised. The rowdy guy came closer, waved his hand and said, "Hey you common people, can you stop drinking? I need to quickly find that member. You guys seem comfortable." Attention is now focused on Joseph. Dan-hoo looked at him with uncomfortable eyes. He said, "It doesn't matter, just go." He looked proud as he looked at him, "So scared, I was so worried, I was so worried." Right after that, Joseph looked at Min-hon and asked, "You cheapskate, don't forget your promise. The losing side is not allowed to touch the ball." Min-hon immediately replied, "Remember, I was really surprised by the senior. Because I was stupid, I thought I would forget it right away." This meaningful sentence went straight to his heart. "1 minute," he suddenly shouted, "just right, it would really hurt." On the Indonesian side, he looked very surprised. He asked, "What are you talking about? What do you mean you can't touch the ball?" Lee Chae-suk began to explain, that we had decided to play against the old volleyball team. He was the captain of the team. Chap paid special attention to In-guk. He sarcastically said, "What is it, that's really the case? Couldn't find members for the team so ended up looking for black mercenaries." Dan-hoo felt humiliated and immediately stood up and shouted at him, "Joseph." He grabbed Joseph's collar tightly and said, "If you don't speak, no one will shut you up." Ingu's mood dropped again. He thought to himself, they like volleyball so much and are so passionate about it, can't they play volleyball again in the future? Just because of someone like that. Joseph said with a serious face to Dan-hoo, "Leave me, you bastard, there are many gods around you, what do you think you can do?" "Shut your mouth." The Dan-hoo was about to punch him, but Ingu stopped him. He said, "In the match with you, the Dan-hoo team was short, right? And losers won't be able to play volleyball at school, if I can't change their outlook." Standing in front of that obnoxious Joseph, Ingu was somewhat confident. He loudly declared, "Yes, I am a black mercenary in the Dan-hoo team, I hope you will take care of me, then just I can change myself. Also at this school." Ingu stands out with his muscular body. He stands in front of Joseph without the slightest worry. From afar there was a figure keeping an eye on them. This mysterious person seemed quite interested in that promise. That person's name is Choi Si-don. He thought to himself, they said they needed members, right? If you can't find members, you can't play volleyball. So what, it has nothing to do with me, he thought, then stretched and left. However, a train of thought stopped him, but Sidon turned to look back at the group of people. Just like that, he now has more friends. Not long after school started, suddenly there was a notification coming from the phone. Si-don opened the message section and clicked a few times. I did the same. Countless people have sent him messages but he doesn't seem to be interested. He's no friend, he's just talking nonsense. So he decided to turn off his phone. His reflection on the phone screen made him think, clearly I have more followers and more messages. Why are things around him and me so different? Volleyball is nothing, it's not. After that day, there were only 10 days left to practice for that match, and Lee Chae-huk was practicing hard. Everyone has the will to win burning inside them. Even the Indonesian mercenaries are determined to gain everyone's recognition. However, he was too careless to miss the pass. Min-hon noticed the action just now and commented that his height was shorter than Dan-hoo's, but his punch was much stronger. Right after that, Min-hon walked up to Tae-kyung and asked, Tae-kyung, what do you think? It fits with my bare hands, he replied. It's better than when I lifted it up, right? Looking at his hand, Kyung immediately wondered, why is this so funny? Is that what happens when the ball is passed in 2 strokes? Seeing that, Lee Chae-huk ran to Kyung's shoulders and said, no, it's because of Min-hon. That's why, it's amazing, isn't it? Luckily, Tae-kyung has also returned to 0. Dan-hoo on this side asked about In-guk. In-guk, how are you feeling? He waved his hand and replied, he felt it, but the ball was still leaked. Someone else's voice came, it's okay, there's still some time so I'll help you. Dan-hoo and everyone gathered to discuss strategy, so now we just need to find another leader, right? That's right, in the first year there is no one except Tae-kyung. Dan-hoo seemed worried, his face fell and said, it's a big deal, we have to find it quickly. In-guk replied, the second year probably doesn't exist either, let's see, the second year is on the Sin team. It's all over. Suddenly someone's voice came from far away, the main character always appeared last. These words made everyone look up. Si-don smiled confidently and gradually approached them, saying, I will be the last one. Everyone is looking for members for the team, right? Si-don is a student at Dawn SOC High School. Dan-hoo seemed to know this guy. He vaguely asked, you're in my class, right? Sitting at the back, In-guk also felt that this guy was very familiar. It seemed like I had seen him before. So they asked Si-don, really, do you also like volleyball? Si-don denied, no, besides the test, you haven't done anything. Even so, the test still got 100 points. As he spoke, he smiled brightly and held up 10 fingers. Min-hon was skeptical, it was very different from the test. Is it okay? Si-don replied, of course, isn't it okay to jump high and pass the ball? Receiving this innocent answer made me Min-hon must be overwhelmed. On the contrary, the other 4 people were interested in what he said. Yes, that's okay, let's do it together, if we've gotten to this point then we welcome you. Even though he said that, thinking about the tragedy after losing, Kyung felt a bit humiliated and said to Chae-huk, but you know, what will happen if the match ends? He replied, how? This is Min-hon. Thinking for a moment, Min-hon replied, it will definitely happen, so I also thought about it. What about gathering an audience? If there are people watching, it's hard to do what you want. Hearing that, Si-don immediately thought to himself, what about the audience? This is an opportunity to show my cool side. With everyone, Min-hon continued to think about how to find a way. The problem is how to attract them. I will do it. Si-don spoke again. He patted his chest confidently and said, leave it to me. Dan-hoo as well as others were very surprised by this suggestion. You can really attract viewers. How do you do it, really? Si-don arrogantly recounted his achievements. I'm a superstar, don't worry. Hearing these words, they were a little less worried. Okay, I believe you, but I still have to say it. Is how to do it? Si-don chuckled and replied, I know what to do, just practice, teach me how to play. Dan-hoo turned to ask Min-hon, can you believe it? Just believe it. Lee Chae-huk spoke up, so how many people are there now? Min-hon replied, except for Libero, that's enough, so now we just need to practice. Suddenly the day of the competition arrived. At the Dion Squirrel School Gymnasium, a familiar joking sound rang out, Kim Dan-hoo, that bastard doesn't know how to find a member, does he? It was still Dosep and his accomplices. He asked Dosep what if we lost. Dosep put on a confident face and said again, what do you mean, if you think you will lose? It's better to go to by 11 bang. Suddenly someone from behind asked Dosep, is this your volleyball team? He immediately turned around and asked him, so what? Behind him there were 2 students holding phones. The content inside was news of the match about to start. That boy asked, I heard there is a match today, but what is the punishment? He asked. I looked at the boy in confusion. What did he say? What was the punishment? The other boy immediately showed the phone to the other guy. He said, "I don't know, you said you were on the volleyball team. That team was about to perish." After reading the content of that post, he laughed happily and said, "What the hell is this?" His face gradually revealed his aggression. How many people saw it? Who posted it? Seeing the author of the post, Joseph's eyes were immediately stunned. He paid attention to the number of followers of the account. The number reached 11,500 people. There was no way. He was truly horrified by that unbelievable amount, his hand tightly grasping the doorknob without any commitment. After pushing the door in, Chap was overwhelmed by the scene of dozens of screaming audiences. He wondered, "Are you here? Are you late?" On the opposite side is the volleyball team belonging to Lee Chae-huk's group. Joseph gritted his teeth and said, "You bastard, what is this about?" Dan-hoo immediately answered him, "I'm afraid you will betray me, so there should be some assurance here. Do you like it?" Baek Ha-seong also entered the stadium, looked around. He asked, "The match went well, were there any spectators?" After saying that, he looked in Joseph's direction and greeted him. "How can you be embarrassed in front of viewers?" Lee Shud replied, "I'm fine, we will win." Ha-seong's voice was somewhat mocking, "So try your best." Their match had finally started. Everyone had entered the field and gradually settled into position. The audience began to talk enthusiastically. It seemed like it had already started. Which team was it? The uniforms were mint color. Is the current team, and gymnastics is a newly formed group, right? Down on the field, Lee Chae-huk pays attention to his opponent's moves. He looked at Baek Ha-seong who was directing the formation and noticed something unusual, his hairpin. "You see where it is, the sound of people mobilizing is heard. Whoosh, it's starting, stay focused." Min-hon is the ball keeper, he said, "our aggressive captain, let's see how it changes." A beautiful serve was launched by Min-hon. Person number 3 on Ha-seong's side quickly caught the ball, and the rest also quickly followed. Joseph sneered and said, "I knew you were aiming at me, you bastard." A high jump came from Joseph. He was about to touch the ball above. Dan-hoo observed his movements. One jump successfully knocked that ball away. Joseph, "Now no one can avoid your attack, let's try to block it." Was counterattacked. He was so frustrated that he wanted to rush out and fight with Dan-hoo. The second tee shot begins. The person wearing shirt number 3 continued to catch the ball. Kyung jumped up to catch the ball, but the timing was wrong. The ball deviated from the pass and fell. Luckily, Chae-huk promptly rushed out to stop and knock the ball back. Chap started to get bitter again. "That bastard, take the ball." The next second, he shouted loudly for his teammates, stopping Kim Dan-hoo. "Can't you learn?" Min-hon continued talking, "I told you not to ignore Chae-huk." A powerful smash was hit. The speed of that shot was so fast that even the naked eye could not keep up. Chae-huk now had a confident smile. Suddenly the Dan-hoo team served the ball again. The atmosphere became more and more exciting. Chap was the one who served the ball. I just saw him jump up and prepare to hit the ball. His face showed concern, nonetheless. "The rest are just nerds, right?" Kyung promptly blocked the ball from Chap's attack, but the ball's rebound caused it to fly in another direction. He said smugly, "This is the hole, isn't it? Aiming here is enough." The ball was almost touching the ground, but there was a hand right underneath. Chae-huk successfully saved the dead ball. The ball flew up again. His teammates immediately praised him, "Good digging." Dan-hoo was ready to counterattack, facing the opponent's hands blocking the ball. His face still did not change a bit. A powerful smash was launched, with such incredible power that the ball went straight through the opposing team's formation. Joseph only had time to catch a glimpse of the other ball's shadow. Kyung brought his team an absolute plus point. Chap looked at the ball bouncing on the floor and was surprised. "What kind of power is this? Be careful," Dan-hoo's warning started. Head. Kyung's shadow, "If you can't block it, it's hard to block." The match resumed. Min-hon blocked the kick. Joseph's name is also not inferior. The ball is gradually flying towards Si-don. Seeing the opportunity, he opened his mouth wide with joy. The ball had finally come. Lee Chae-huk immediately said, "Si-don, you need to calmly block the ball, stay calm." Si-don's expression didn't look like he had heard any criticism. He said something to reassure him, "Okay, trust me, watch me perform." The ball fell in the right position on the wrist. The movement was also completely correct. The only thing was that there was no rebound. The ball fell straight to the side. It was clear that Si-don was still weak. The ball was at his feet. He was surprised to see what he had just done. It was Joseph's team's turn to serve. A member of the group approached the spot and whispered quietly, "When serving the ball, don't aim elsewhere." He added, aiming at the big guy and the kid over there, "Those guys haven't done anything yet, they can't even block that ball." In-gug and Min-hon's eyes met. It seemed they realized something. The opponent had already started serving the ball. The shot flew straight to In-gug. Remember Minhoon's advice, later when the match comes, there will be a ball handling situation, especially In-gug and Sidon standing next to each other, it will be very dangerous. Unless it's an emergency, you two don't need to accept it. In-gug asked, what is serve, what should we do? Sidon still spoke loudly, let me tell you. It's okay, if you can't catch the ball, the other side will have the right to serve, you don't need to receive the ball, you can block it. Chae-hook will do it. Dan-hoo is no less competitive in this field. Baek Hyeseong seems uneasy, soccer practice site, from above. The screams became more and more intense, the audience began to comment on the talents of both sides, this is crazy, is it okay to dance like that too? No, the side receiving the ball is even crazier, it's so constant, everyone is amazing so. Lee Chae-hook ran over to celebrate, he high-fived Dan-hoo and said, great, he also complimented him back. Chae-hook also had good reflexes. Baek Hyeseong saw them being so close and immediately came up with the idea to end this relationship. The whistle blew again. The other ball was hit again. Hyeseong thought, blocking the ball. He looked at Dan-hoo and Sidon and thought, everyone is rushing towards the captain, there is only one block from his position, this is the opportunity. The ball was stopped by a group of people. Hyeseong started to frown, ignoring the opportunity to have no one to block on the left wing and choosing to attack from the right. Right after that, he went up and asked, dude, what did you just do? The guy heard it and asked back, what's wrong? Hyeseong pointed to the ball block earlier and said, there was no block on the left side, why did he pass it back to the captain? The other guy immediately waved his hand, I'm sorry for that, I'll pay attention next time. Baek Hyeseong shouted loudly, no need. Looking at that guy, he started to think again, from the beginning of the match until now, the attack was focused on the captain, in addition, the other team only focused on blocking him, both of them were abnormal. What's up? Another siren sounded. Dan-hoo still caught the ball. From the score of 1-6 to 2-6, Joseph's team was almost defeated. The current score is 27 in favor of the Dan-hoo team, and he is also the one serving the ball. Hyeseong said to his friend earlier, don't you want to win? What do you mean, what's wrong with you? He asked again, why did you only pass to the captain, pass to me too, I will defeat them. About that, Baek Hyeseong's eyes suddenly turned to the back. He looked at the guy who was holding someone else's neck and asked his friend, what did the captain say? Don't bother. With his steady eyes, Hyeseong affirmed, I will take responsibility so you just pass it to me, first you have to win. Suddenly the tee shot had begun. Joseph rushed from the left wing to block the ball. At this moment, Hyeseong from the right wing also prepared to intercept, both of them making the other guy uncomfortable. He remembered North Hyeseong's question, don't you want to win? His eyes immediately changed, if it was you. Finally, the boy decided to pass the ball to Hyeseong. He also cooperated and jumped up. Don't you want to win? In-gug is the most suitable person to block that ball. In-gug, thanks to his tall body, he jumped up in one breath. In front of him is the famous North Hyeseong, his hand. Hyeseong clearly noticed the gap between In-gug's hands, which was in the dead zone where he could score. It was too clumsy, a powerful smash from Hyeseong caused In-gug to concede and succeeded in scoring. Lee Chae-hook frowned, just now he aimed exactly at the middle of the barrier, wait, headband, middle of the barrier. Once he remembered, he began to be surprised by his opponent's reputation. Minhoon immediately turned to ask, what do you remember, that headband, Sucheong Baek Hyeseong High School. Minhoon thought about this strange yet familiar name, Baek Hyeseong, he added, you know, the person who sees the ball very well. After Chae-hook's words, Minhoon recognized him. While scratching his head, Minhoon said angrily, why is it like that? Dan-hoo approached and asked, what's wrong, what kind, are you okay? Minhoon's eyes suddenly became strange, the name Sudoong made him a bit confused, they are not a team with strong physical strength. Dan-hoo continued to play the ball. Dusep also continuously intercepted, blocked the ball very well, Minhoon still thinks about that team, average height. In-gug once again jumped up to block, among them, Baek Hyeseong. As soon as he mentioned it, he paid attention to the dead spot again. This time it was on the right wing, which was the area where In-gug couldn't move in time. With his agility and accurate judgment, he was a famous player with the ability to see the ball very well. The talent for judgment is extremely scary. Baek Hyeseong scored another point for the Dusep team. Even In-gug and Ki-young could not predict this shot. A bang rang out, the ball was hit straight to the ground. The next shot, Hyeseong hit another shot, but this time the ball bounced into In-gug's hand and bounced back. Out in the field, the ball slowly rolled out. The current score, thanks to Hyeseong, equalized 7-all, our team is still inexperienced. Hyeseong's hairpin fell off. He also gave a meaningful smile. Even though I was sweating profusely, thanks to you, the Disciplinary team equalized the score. It was terrible. Hyeseong picked up the other brooch, smoothed his hair and took a deep breath. He said, the score has been leveled. If it keeps like this and wins the first half first, it would be great. It seemed like something caught his eye. Sure enough, in the distance was Joseph with a sour look on his face. He thought, there was one more thing to do. The match continues again. This time the team serves the ball. Dan-hoo dodged aside to help Chae-huk block the ball. The opposite side is not inferior either. The defense is excellent. Realizing the opportunity, Bak Hyeseong once again hit the ball, but this time Disciplinary witnessed it all. He looked at him with unsympathetic eyes. The ball hit the floor. Another point was scored. No one can stop Dan-hoo's team. With consecutive brilliant smashes, perhaps Bak Hyeseong shined. However, because he continuously occupied the center of attention, trouble came. Joseph's scream rang out, that guy. He turned to look at him. Disciplinary was next to his friend just now. He asked him, why don't you pass it properly? What are you doing? He stammered, that Disciplinary is. He immediately blocked his throat. Why don't you pass it to me? Do you want to be beaten too, right now? Hyeseong raised his voice. Why? You have to pass it to me to win. He continued to say that if you only focus on him, you won't be able to score points, because he'll miss all the opportunities to attack. Isn't that right? Joseph was very angry at this time. In the middle of a football field with hundreds of spectators, he shouted again, what is that? The cheerleaders were talking again. What's going on? Is there a fight? What's going on? This side is also starting to stir. What's wrong with that person? He's not happy. What's going on? Aren't they leading? Bak Hyeseong rolled his eyes and observed the situation. He thought, now is probably the time to catch up with that flow. Even though he doesn't want to, there is no other way. He turned to face the audience and pleaded, we will pause for a moment, just 1 minute. He turned to Dan-hoo's team again and asked, are you guys okay? Min-hon replied, it has nothing to do with us. Lich-huk also agreed, let's start again in 1 minute. Having resolved the surrounding situation, Hyeseong turned back to Disciplinary to discuss. He asked him, say it again, what is the opportunity? Let it go, you are too rude. He replied, isn't that right? I lost 27 when I passed it to you, I got it to 19. Do you have anything to say? Hearing that, he immediately grabbed Hyeseong's shirt, this bastard. Hyeseong said softly, I mean I will win. I will make even your trivial attack effective. Do you want to do it or not, or give up? The others rushed to stop the conflict. Disciplinary, if you do that here, the audience will see everything. Disciplinary, first you have to win, plan to leave Kim Dan-hoo like that star. He looked at him and said, you just need to know one thing, if you don't win, you will be eliminated. Bak Hyeseong also agreed, just like that. On the outside it was like that, but in his heart he secretly cursed, if I don't win then it's my fault. Before the exchange, he immediately proposed a method, no matter what, I had to win. I'll say everything I've found out, if we do as I say, we can win. The whistle blows again, first pass 2, let's throw the ball wider from now on. According to what he said, the kick was pushed higher. I couldn't just stop the captain because I was also scoring points. The blocking line will spread out, if so, the captain will not miss the opportunity. Joseph gasped and thought, does it really work? And from now on, serve. We'll aim fixedly at the other two newcomers. He can't block it and our side will take points from it. But, there is still a monster named Lich-huk. Lich-huk will catch it, as before. However, the attacking side will also decrease. If so, the attack options are only 2. One is Dan-hoo. The other is Kyung. A middle block with a high batting score. Then, Disciplinary immediately countered, wait a minute, there's no one here who doesn't know. Are you talking about how to attack? The person next to him was also scared. That's right, the problem is that it's impossible to stop it even if you know it. Bak Hyeseong replied, I could handle it just now, that is. He said, Dan-hoo's smash ball luckily fell before my eyes. Bak Hyeseong continued, no, that was true, he had no other choice but to settle down first and receive the ball that was thrown from above. If I received it by chance before, then this time. A high jump from position 9, a deliberate counterattack with a long pass. Of course there will be risks, but the important thing is to cut off this flow no matter what. If you can block it, end it with a quick attack. Thanks to Bak Hyeseong's plan, Disciplinari's team scored 12 consecutive goals, quickly leaving Dan-hoo's team behind. There was another whistle, and a skilled passer. The person mentioned is Tae Kyung. Hyeseong has been paying attention to his every move. The force of his fist is very strong but there will be a way to counterattack. If I find it, I will tell everyone. Then he thought again, saying that but, it's really great. His eyes began to look at Ki-young's actions, not missing anything, how to stop them. It seemed like he had seen something. Wait a minute, all this time, could it be? After Ki-young hits the ball grazed Hye-seong's right. Looking at the ball's path, he thought again. To stand straight, it was not necessary to be on a straight line. Sure enough, that smile returned. It seemed like the Danhu team was about to encounter a big obstacle. Ki-young immediately breathed a sigh of relief after scoring. Luckily this time it was still very good. Suddenly someone asked, "Are you Tia Ki-young?" That voice was Hye-seong. Ki-young also responded enthusiastically, "Yes, I admit you hit the ball very well." He handed the ball back to Ki-young. Ki-young also returned his compliment, "Thank you, you played very well too." Suddenly Hye-seong snatched the ball back and said, "But hey, you." Ki-young's moments of hitting the ball were all noticed by Hye-seong. He asked him, "You can only hit the ball straight, right?" The second half had already started. The score was in favor of the Disciplinary team with a gap of 7-3. Danhu team members are becoming more and more focused. Min-hoon was now close to the limit, sweating profusely. Lik-hud also felt exhausted. May feel the need to finish quickly before stamina reaches zero. In-gug was the most focused person. He told himself, "I must do it." About 30 minutes ago, the question Hye-seong asked Ki-young. "I don't know how to block because of the power of the ball. Is the easiest type, isn't it? It would be stupid to block the ball straight." Was caught. Ki-young was very surprised. What was that? Hye-seong saw such a reaction and grasped the opportunity. He smiled and said, "What is it? Really, it's very simple." Min-hoon immediately approached and asked, "It's a match, be polite, give me the ball." Hye-seong still laughed, "What's so big? Anyway, thanks, Tia Ki-young." Min-hoon immediately took Ki-young home. "Let's go." Ki-young's weakness has been discovered, making Min-hoon a bit worried. It's a big deal. A tee shot is hit. Dusep knocked it out, but Danhu's team promptly blocked the ball. The ball bounced backwards, so immediately he ran over to catch it. The ball flew to Min-hoon's place. His eyes immediately looked in Hye-seong's direction. He was arrogantly observing the position to pass the ball. Hye-seong said, "Attack quickly, I will stop you." Was caught. Min-hoon gritted her teeth and said, "Damn it." He decided to knock the ball up high as bait for Ki-young to hit the ball. Hye-seong has been waiting for this opportunity for so long. He immediately shouted, "Right now." The people assigned to block immediately jumped up to block Ki-young's attack. They stood in front of him, causing the ball to be knocked back. As expected, he was very cunning. The ball returned to the Danhu team's floor. Looking at the results of his observation, Hye-seong smiled with satisfaction. Min-hoon saw them blocking Ki-young's attack and immediately reacted, "Damn it." At the end of the first half, the score was 25-18 in favor of Joseph's team. The situation became more and more tense. Lee Chae-huk asked Min-hoon while drinking water, "Are we exhausted?" He replied, "It's been like that since the middle of the match, because it's a 3-round match, so winning the first half is very important, big gay." Ki-young immediately approached, his face full of regret and said, "Sorry, if only I had done better, I could only hit the ball straight." Min-hoon immediately consoled, "No, there was no other way because it was just there are 2 attack options. Anyway, we need to stop this flow. I'm going to attack too, so please pass it to me." Danhu heard what Chae-huk said and asked, "Is it okay? I'll watch the defense myself. There's no other way, we can't lose like this. I will try harder." Sidon spoke up, "Let me attack too. I can attack too, right?" In-gug also participated. "Is it because he's new, that's why?" Min-hoon looked at them for a long while. He didn't respond at all. "So far, that's true. From now on you two must do it one by one." Danhu asked again, "Is it okay? If it backfires then, even so it has to be done." Looking towards Dusep's team, he was smiling contemptuously in the direction of Min-hoon, the player that the opponent had ignored and eliminated. If suddenly act like a variable. Both the In-gug and the Sidonians also realized this. Min-hoon said, "Nothing would be more effective." Very quickly both teams entered the match again. As usual, Hye-seong still blocked Ki-young's ball. Joseph also successfully tossed the ball high. In-gug looked at his opponent and worried, "Which direction is this?" There were 2 people in front of him, yes. Or left. He seemed to be very worried. Where should he block? When he chose to block on the left, the ball was passed and hit to the right. Joseph immediately felt proud. It was so easy, let's end it quickly. In-gug was exhausted. He became more and more insecure. "I don't know. I need to stop it. I can't block the ball this way." Thinking then he closed his eyes to concentrate. "Calm down, just do as usual." Not predicting but following the ball. Dan-hoo stepped forward to hit the ball resourcefully, but when the ball was about to hit the floor, he was stopped. The ball was thrown high, the remaining members immediately followed, 3 people attacked. Calmly chased the ball. On the left, Ingu could see the direction of the ball. Then, the ball was knocked down by the opponent's number 8. Fast, but not to the point where I can't react, I can block it. The ball is gradually rushing towards Dan-hoo. Lee-hut advanced to intercept. He breathed a sigh of relief, it was okay. However, the ball flew in Sidon's direction, he immediately looked at it bewildered, a voice came out, "You, get away." The ball was knocked high by Sidon's hand, and Dan-hoo followed closely. Min-hon shouted loudly, "Senior Dan-hoo, pass it over now." Following Min-hon's words, Dan-hoo immediately passed it to him. The ball was in the most favorable position. Lee-huk understands the situation, the opportunity, needs to take it now, before we stabilize. Min-hon watched with eyes full of hope. Dan-hoo also prays for it to be successful. In-gug suddenly took a deep breath. The ball is above him, this is the moment for In-gug to score. That's right, blocking the ball is my ability. Just keep chasing the ball as usual. The opponent gradually touches the ball. They touched the ball and prepared for a subsequent pass. Stay focused until the end. Sure enough, this concentration was effective. The Indian's eyes were aimed at the person on the right. He used his speed to rush to that side. A position for jumping to block attacks is shown, with short steps. Hyeseong said softly, trying to block it, it couldn't work. However, nothing is impossible, In-gug has emerged. From left to right, jump as high as possible. His hands moved towards the ball, the shape of his hands seemed to surround the ball. Back Hyeseong was still confident and prepared to hit the ball, he said, this time make a hole somewhere. Suddenly his eyes reacted, and not completely, from now on. Very amazingly, with just his hands, In-gug completely covered his dead area. The ball was bounced back, In-gug did it, he successfully stopped Hyeseong's attack. Seeing that he had made new progress, In-gug was very happy, okay. After successfully blocking the opponent's attack, the whole audience shouted, 1v1, he just woke up, what are you saying? Lee Chae-huk was extremely excited, what's wrong with you, block the ball 1-1. He turned around and smiled and replied, yes. The Dan-hoo behind him thought that In-gug had already caught the feeling of the ball. Chae-huk asked excitedly, you were just chasing the ball, weren't you? I can't believe it, it's a lot. Listening to him talk so much, he seemed indifferent and confused. So Dan-hoo explained to him that leader means looking at the direction of attack and blocking the ball. However, since Min-hon came to advise them, I don't want to ruin the atmosphere but, it's too early to be satisfied with it. The score is still 4-9, attack options are few so it's the same. And then he turned to ask Chae-huk, can you really attack? Hearing this, he firmly replied, oh of course, only by attacking can you win. But before the round, Min-hon was worried, yes, but his physical strength was okay, knowing that his body could not achieve what he wanted, if he wanted to win, there was no other way. Min-hon then said, then from now on, I will also pass it to you thanks to you. Hearing them talk like that, there was a person behind who seemed unwilling, but, why don't you pass it to me? I'm not the one attacking. Feeling bad, Chae-huk turned to Min-hon to avoid it. Well, if I had the chance, I would pass it to you too, right? Even so, he was still determined, it was the best choice, raising the score was natural, we were competing, so let's talk about this later. Let's join the defense first to cover up the attack, it seems they have ignored what Sidon said earlier. The match finally continued. A shot up was made by Dusep's team. At that time, when he glanced at In-gug, the boy secretly guessed that he had just been blocked one time. Then he made a high pass to his teammates. Don't leave it like that, In-gug and Chae-huk immediately went into a defensive position. As expected the two of them successfully blocked that blow. Seeing that their performance was very good, Min-hon was also happy in his heart, very good. Now it can be blocked. Two people who can attack from behind and are good at covering and ramming this, I need to catch up as much as possible this rotation. Before a strong ball hit, but Chae-huk still tried to block it. Feeling strange at his actions, the boy on the other side was confused, suddenly he started to block the ball. Seized the opportunity when he saw he was not concentrating and thought to himself, didn't he move first, I need to solve this problem. At that time, the ball was brought to Hyeseong's northern hand again. I couldn't wait any longer and looked to his left. Then he jumped up to block the attack, but it was useless as the ball flew around his hand. He could only helplessly watch the ball fly past him and fall away. The response is still a bit slow. Keeping this situation hanging by a thread, suddenly a miracle happened. It was Chae-huk who used his body to quickly fly over to save the ball. Everyone was excited, very good Chae-huk. Minhone breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, I almost missed the ball. The ball was lifted into the air by him. It was at this moment that Minhone took the opportunity to counterattack and jumped up to block the ball. Seeing that side preparing to counterattack, Hyeseong immediately ordered, Lee Chae-huk AO, let's gather, one of the other two will attack. However, Minhone heard that and immediately turned to respond, who said that, either of them? It's unbelievable that at this moment Chae-huk jumped as high as he could to hit the ball. A direct hit gave them another point, and the score has now returned to parity at 13-all. While consulting Dan-hoo asked Chae-huk if she was okay, but in response to those words, Chae-huk still said it was okay, a bit difficult, but okay. Minhone also came to encourage us, let's try a little more, thanks to you we're even. But he thought, I'm fine. Ingo also blocked the ball so it was easy to receive it. With your enthusiasm he replied, that's lucky, I will try to block the ball. However at this time Sidon started to speak, what's wrong, I'm the only one. He angrily shouted, why don't you pass it to me, I'm on the same team as everyone else, I'm also the one who hits the ball. Why do you look down on me? Everyone was shocked when they heard it. Oh, why are you looking down on it? What are you talking about? Minhone asked helplessly, Senior, this is different from the practical assessment, right? Now is the time when every point is important. If you pass it to him, there may be 0 points, even though he thinks that hasn't been tried yet. Minhone had to correct him, don't forget the senior's role now is, not to attack to score points, but to reduce the defensive burden for Chae-huk. Hearing this, he could only grit his teeth and endure. And then the match resumed. It seemed like Chae-huk was at his limit, he kept breathing rapidly, reaching his limit. However, it only takes 1 point until the situation is turned around. The ball was also played by him. Hyeseong suddenly felt strange, his shadow power was so weak, he was both defending himself and attacking. His physical strength is gone, he smiled complacently. And so they were scored another point by the opponent with a powerful blow. But it was still Chae-huk who stood up to catch the ball. Dan-hoo seems to have also realized that once the shield has reached its limit, the attack's effectiveness will also decrease. The ball was now supported by Dusep's team and flew up. It was at this moment that Hyeseong immediately asked everyone to attack quickly. An attack was performed, like last time the Dan-hoo was unable to block it. Chae-huk helplessly watched the ball fly past me without being able to do anything. Damn, 1 point to reverse, my body can't move, I can't help it. But a miracle happened. Keong was lucky enough to narrowly catch it. I got it, keep going. Minhone immediately thought about how to respond. Wait, if Keong had blocked the ball, the choice to attack was. On the contrary, Hyeseong on this side appeared very confident. The situation now seemed to be against them. Chae-huk had reached its limit, Senior Dan-hoo was also blocked, there was no other way, they had to get 1 point until the match ended. Suddenly the voice asked, pass it to me. So that's Sidon, I can do it too, I'm here. One side Dan-hoo also spoke up and suggested, Minhone, pass it to Sidon. The matter has reached a dead end, there is no other way. Please senior please, then he passed it straight back to him. Dan-hoo immediately turned to remind him, Sidon, you haven't forgotten about training, right? Yet he happily replied, otherwise I would have forgotten everything. An extremely fast upward glide. He jumped as high as he could. Meanwhile, he still thinks that's not cool. Then bluntly grabbed the ball. And successfully scored points for them. They spectacularly increased the score to 14-13 in favor of Dan-hoo's team. Having just successfully scored points, Sidon excitedly said, no matter what, isn't it okay to just score points? After that ball, everyone didn't know what else to say. Chae-huk was the first to speak, oh what? Even Minhone was surprised. On the other side, Hyeseong was stunned, what was that? At this point, Sidon turned around and smiled and said, see, I said I could do it, right? I'm a superstar. Then everyone surrounded him and complimented him, he was really cool. In response to that compliment he also acted quite fierce, he knew he would do something cool. Seeing that his talent is so great, Minhone thought to himself, I didn't expect him to attack with that stance. If you throw the ball that far away, the path will not go properly. On top of that, the other team was also stunned by an attack that had never been seen before. If Sidon's continuous attacks were so effective, Chae-huk wouldn't need to participate in the attack. So Minhone went to see, Sidon, can we continue? He asked softly again, things like before. Then he smiled smugly and said, we can do even cooler things than that. A short while later the match resumed with a goal kick from the Dan-hoo team. However, the opponent was able to block it and counterattack. The match was extremely dramatic with Chae-huk's ball blocking. Next, they immediately hit the ball towards their opponent. Not to disappoint everyone, Sidon also made another great smash. Seeing that, Kyung did not leave it alone, he also joined in the attack. They resisted with great difficulty, but it seemed like the second half of the match had come to an end. And so the final result is 25-17 wins belong to the Danhu team. After the second half, they gathered together. First, Minhon gently asked Chae-huk if his physical condition was okay. He immediately replied, yes, the pressure to attack has decreased, now he can play. Seeing that, Minhon was happy and said, luckily, too. Anyway, she tried to conserve her strength and had to participate in the attack, when suddenly someone made fun of him. Turning around, I saw Sidon with a bright smile, nothing to say. His countless questions continuously bombarded Minhon. Are you good at playing? Aren't you cool, like a superstar? In response he continuously admitted that. But he immediately stopped him and said, thanks to the senior, we won the second round, you did well. So next match let's change the starting lineup, we have to attack from the beginning. By the third round, everyone was in their positions. Hyeseong on the other side immediately noticed something strange, the formation had changed. Changing the two middle guards and the two main attackers, it's already solid from the start. And then round 3 began. The opponent quickly blocked the ball, causing the ball to fly high. Because this is the last round, Minhon wants the last round to create a new atmosphere from the beginning. First of all, with the start of the Indonesian senior, the potential to block the ball also increases. The opponent immediately passes it to their teammate. A precise smash was made. It seemed like it had touched the ground, even if it was punctured. At that moment Chae-huk was in the right place to catch it. And the pioneering of our Indian ancestors. Standing in front of the ball right now is Danhu. He immediately breathed a sigh of relief to prepare for a goal. A middle blocker capable of attacking from behind would be waiting there. On the Disciplinary team, they don't know who will be next. Who will it come to? Sidon ran up from behind and asked, here, pass it to me. On the other side, they mistakenly thought it was the second round. Assumed that Sidon would be the one to attack. But at this point Minhon showed a satisfied smile. They were deceived that the person who hit the ball was not Sidon but a Danhu. Danhu's team finally scored the first point in this round. Gradually the points increased to 2-4 in favor of the Danhu pair. A little later it went up to 4-7. With what he's done so far, Chae-huk confidently thinks that it would be great to be in this lineup. We can win. I didn't expect them to be able to dominate with a score of 5-12, which was so surprising. The Disciplinary team seems to be too dissatisfied. The situation at that time made the Disciplinary extremely bitter. He was only 5 or 12 already, damn. He immediately looked at Hyeseong and said, hey rookie, are you bad at it or did they suddenly get better? He also said that with his brother's participation in the attack, Lee Chae-huk was created to be able to dig, the battle was already balanced. If this continues, he's acting arrogant, look at that bastard's thoughts. Hey you cheap bastard, what should I say? You said I believed you, what is the meaning of this now? At this point, he couldn't stand it anymore, he got angry and shouted, so it's all my fault? You lead a team and don't know how to play properly and win a round, now you blame me for losing a round? The two of them started fighting with each other. It would be crazy, if they didn't have the strength, at least have a conscience. Anyway, stop talking nonsense, just focus on the match. I don't want to lose yet. Having said that, he still seemed arrogant. Oh, is that so? But what should I do? I have no intention of continuing. Seeing Hyeseong's uncooperative attitude made him very bitter. What do you mean? Sep immediately shouted in the stands, you've seen enough, go home, the match is over. It was his words that made him angry. How did this end? In response to that question, he just nonchalantly said, it's too noisy, you bastard, what can you do now? Oh no, after listening to you, it turned out like this, why ask? However, Hyeseong stood up and said, whoever said they wanted to end it, I won't lose to them again, no I can't lose. Let's go back to 1 year ago at Chongho Middle School. It seems like right now Hyeseong is playing for Sucheong High School as an offensive lineman, his physical condition is better. Before his eyes, a group of players were playing together. It seemed like they were his opponents in the next match. At that time, the Chae-huk in that team hugged Minhon's neck and smiled, hey, why didn't you pass to me just now but instead pass to him? Odin happily said, why are you asking about something obvious? So, feeling uncomfortable, Minhon grabbed his hand and asked him to let go and said. However, a voice rang out, causing their attention to turn to see if he was having fun. Hyeseong came over to start a conversation, next time I see you I won't lose. Minhon heard that and replied, very happy. Odin also exclaimed, you saw the ball very well, I thought our team lost. Following the story Chae-huk happily said, so I was really scared. What is your name? Before that question, he showed no interest. Then we talked about something else. Anyway, we need to watch the ball carefully. We're not as talented as you guys. Those words made the three of them confused. What talent is your name? What is that? He happily replied, Bak Hyeseong, let's meet often. In order to get to know him, Chae-huk asked, Bak Hyeseong, which school are you planning to go to? But your words were still ignored by Hyeseong. Where will you guys study? So he looked at Minhon and thought, it's true I'm not. At this point, Minhon gradually realized that she felt like she was looking down on Chae-huk. Odin heard that and replied, I still don't know. Here Hyeseong asked about Minhon, what about you do Minhon? Hearing him call his name, Minhon was surprised. How do you know my name? He laughed and said, why didn't I know? Chae-huk saw that and teased, Do Minhon is so famous right? He continued to ignore Chae-huk's words, should we go somewhere else? It's difficult to be professional here, but the response he received from Minhon was very indifferent. Well, I don't want to become professional, I play volleyball because it's fun. Receiving that answer made him collapse. What? It's really unlucky isn't it? He pretends to be good at everything. Then they played around, ignoring Hyeseong's absent-minded attitude. It's really unlucky, even you are the same, I admit it's really unlucky. His mind was very chaotic at that time, people like me were struggling to death. Just because it's fun, those words penetrate deep into my heart. When he heard those words, he became more and more indifferent. Even if he died, he could not win against the genius. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep up. My thought started with a sentence from Do Minhon. Seeing him standing around indifferently in a corner, someone came up and said, what is that kid doing over there? Hey Bak Hyeseong, are you here to rest? You've fallen so far. At that moment in his mind he said, no matter what, the only thing I can do is put it under talented bugs, and grow like a ball rolling in the snow, as soon as I decide. I left. Moving to Dawn SOC High School, he chose to give up volleyball and go to any school. Hyeseong now came to a room and asked, is this a volleyball club? Taekyong suddenly heard a noise so he turned his head to see, why was the atmosphere like that, were people arguing? Hearing that he replied, who was arguing? I heard there was a volleyball team so I came here to see. Why is he here? You are because of Minhon right? Why are you here? He was there. Is that the last bit of dignity left? Anger has made me like this time I don't want to lose, but, returning to the present, their conversation had reached a dead end. Seeing them arguing, everyone above immediately started talking, why did it end like this? It's over, so who wins? I don't know how to look at it, maybe I lost so I quit, nothing more, reformed. Hearing the words discussed in the stands, Hyeseong became speechless. The bastard Dusep asked him, you bastard, go out there, it's over. Unwillingly, a member of the team advised him to stop him. That's right Dusep, well it's a bit ending like this, but he seemed determined. Have you lost your mind? But he still thinks we lost. Before he could finish his sentence, he grabbed his beak and scolded him, wanting to fall behind. Do you want to be beaten again? Feeling unacceptable, he shouted loudly, stop, we lost because we played poorly, we can't win against those guys. One side of Dan who also spoke up about his actions, hey Sindusep just be moderate, okay? Stop being aggressive with others, you know why we must attract the audience. Hearing that, he still didn't realize the bad thing that was about to happen. Why did he need to know? That's why Dan Hu told him, look with your own eyes. Countless phones were posted to record his actions. Hey, turn around, he's a bully, report him immediately guys. Come on Sindusep, it's so cool Dusep, the location is actually the gym. If we eliminate school violence, I'll post it on social media too. Let him see what's on his face. Do you see anything, you bastard? He immediately looked bitter. What's wrong with such a bastard? To avoid getting into trouble, he turned to call Hun Hu. He saw that he was being photographed so he also looked uncomfortable. Damn, why did they take pictures and say that to me? Even though the Dusep guy was gone, he still tried to press into Hyeseong's ear, see you tomorrow. When he left, everyone was still talking excitedly, look at him leaving, it's almost the end of the match, we're running out of juice, let's go, it's over. A little while later, still in that room, when everyone had left, only Dan Hu and Hyeseong's team remained. Seeing him so sad, Chae-huk couldn't bear it. Minhon then turned to call him, Chae-huk, get ready to go home. Hyeseong suddenly asked, how do you feel about being so talented? Are you just playing for fun? His face looked irritated, what's the point of people like me trying to win, you feel sorry for me. Hearing that, Minhon turned to refute, suddenly saying what? Hyeseong immediately replied, then tell the truth. That's why he brought Lee Chae-huk with him, he said so that both of them couldn't understand. He loudly said that I hate people like Do Minhon the most, who believes in his talent and pretends the most. What he said made him remember things like that time. He's still steadfast in that, playing volleyball for fun, don't talk nonsense, no matter how hard you try, it's interesting to see people who can't reach your feet, right? Feeling it was too much, Minhon immediately spoke up, hey, you're talking too much. That's why Chae-huk shared, I understand how you feel, perhaps I know it best. Of course it's painful, comparing even small things, self-esteem keeps dropping, I understand that clearly. So what about those things? Minhon is Minhon, I also found something that I can do better. You can too, right, what you can do best. To what he said, Hyeseong replied that, even so, if you go on stage, in the end it will be a battle between geniuses, luckily I already knew that. I gave up, wisely. Hearing that, Chae-huk happily said, so what's the relief, why don't you collide more, you're so stupid. If you haven't tried it yet but you're scared and give up, that's a shame, right? Don't be like that. Let's do it with us, then extend your hand to invite him to join your team. He had nothing to say, the weapon he had worked best. I didn't expect to hear Lee Chae-huk say that. Why am I with you? Seeing that he doesn't agree, I can't help it. Isn't that how it is? He ran out of words to say goodbye and left, he had to go, the match was over, let's clean up a bit. However, he remembered something so he stopped. I haven't lost to you guys yet, you know. Chae-huk friendly goodbye, yes it's still 1-0. A little while later he realized, but we won, so why do we have to clean it up? So it's okay, there was another person on the stage. So you do it all, let's do it together. Come on Dan-hoo, go pick up the ball, I'll fix the net for you. The person in the stands watching from the beginning until now is named Bak Min-chae. He is a student at Daeon SOC High School. The match that day was inconclusive due to the captain's dominance. Countless rumors gradually appeared. Hey, did you hear about that? What happened? Do you know the volleyball team, about their aggression against each other reached the teacher's ears? Oh really? He must have been punished, but after the captain's violent behavior and cursing. What kind of nonsense is this sports club, even losing so they run away? An investigation into school violence against volleyball team members has been conducted. Just as others said, they were immediately given a report. The first result was that they were team captains and were banned from participating in the volleyball team, along with disciplinary action. The accompanying punishment for them is to pick up trash in school. Chap immediately expressed his disapproval. At the same time the remaining members decided to leave, and a new teacher was also assigned. Has become Daeon Squirrel High School's new volleyball team. A week later at a bus stop, Chae-huk was still engrossed in his gem while waiting for the bus. The top of the spire attacks quickly, right? You have to aim at that corner. Bak Min-chae sitting next to him also recognized him, the volleyball player. Chae-huk still hasn't noticed that anyone is paying attention to him, isn't that right? They still get it, huh? Minda, look at this, it's a lot less turmeric, isn't it? But his attitude is that he doesn't care too much, it's really frustrating. The bus finally arrived. As always, Chae-huk greeted politely when getting in the car, greeted the driver, and good morning. However, when it was time to deposit the fee collection machine reported that the balance was insufficient. This situation made him panic. He immediately turned to call the driver, uncle, next time if I come back again, but that uncle bluntly asked him to get off. Chae-huk still begged, please uncle, please save me. Because she saw that he was taking too long, Min-chae immediately took out her phone to pay for the two of them. Then he boldly stepped up and got out of the way. The bus has also departed. Sitting next to him Chae-huk as if he had something to ask. Oh, I'm so embarrassed, I don't know why the seats ran out so quickly. To erase that awkward atmosphere, Chae-huk asked, hey let me ask, are you a first year? But all he got back was a nod. Seeing that, Chae-huk excitedly introduced himself, hello, it turns out you're also a first year. What class are you in? What's your name? I'm also a first year, class 3 Lee Chae-huk. It's really nice to meet you, thank you very much, considering that I won't be able to go to school. Isn't that too much of a driver? When he tells me to get off the bus, I'm really speechless. If he's absent, he will bear it. Responsibility, listening to him talk all the time makes him feel so upset, but if you know that, don't help him. Chae-huk then asked for a phone number to return the money. Anyway, I will definitely give it back to you for your number. Are you sleeping? I will give it back to you. I will give it back to you. You are sleeping really? Min-chae looked extremely angry. I have to accept that request. I will give it to you. So don't talk to me, I will call you. The atmosphere returned to its original state. But this time Chae-huk apologized again. Not long ago did you watch volleyball? He immediately replied, yes I did. How fun, right? Hearing that, Min-chae turned to wonder, do you like volleyball? Why do you like it so much? Chae-huk thought, do you like it? It's fun and great, there needs to be a reason to like it. These words reminded him of an old friend, because it was so fun, let's play together. It's true that it's really annoying. Every time it comes to volleyball, Chae-huk is very interested in it. I will definitely participate in the national competition with this volleyball. Of course, before that, I have to look for members for the team. In fact, there isn't one yet. Libero, Libero is. Before he could explain, he said, I know Libero, the defense expert, so you know. Back in the past that friend of his said, Miche, I want to go to high school and become a libero. He immediately wondered what it was. His friend hesitated. Libero is just a defensive specialist, the freest player on the field. Hey, doesn't he have freckles and earrings? Oh yes, he is back. Minche, I heard he is the middle school bully, got into a fight and got suspended. Chae-huk heard the gossip and turned to ask, what did you say? Why do other people say that in front of you? Is there any scoundrel in this world who pays bus fare for someone else? Suddenly he quickly stood up and moved away. I'm coming down here, I haven't gone to school yet. But he was still determined to get out of the way, and I had to get out of the car. The bus also stopped because of that. Scene change at the school where the male protagonist is studying. At noon the football team gathered together. What about Dan-hoo? Where did he go? In-gug said, the teacher called and said to come to the staff room. Seeing Choi Si-don so active, why does he know so many people? In-gug explains it's because he's famous. Chae-huk then asked, well, what do you plan to do? Will you return to the basketball team? I was so happy when he replied that he had told his homeroom teacher earlier that he would continue to play volleyball. As everyone said, he wanted to practice and be treated kindly. Volleyball is also interesting, isn't it? Chae-huk excitedly said that, yes, the middle block has been done a lot, but if you don't do it, it won't work. But you, what about you? You're a superstar. You're great too. Kyung suddenly realized, Dan-hoo is here. He's on someone's phone right now. Okay, let's meet soon. How about this weekend, by the way? Is it okay if you're busy this week? I'll see you after practice. It's okay. Kyung saw that and immediately said, it seemed like he was busy on the phone. Then Chae-huk called out, Captain, come here quickly. Back to Dan-hoo's conversation, Ji-ho, can I bring a team member with me? Team member, volleyball team. That's it then, let's watch it. I see Chae-huk calling. He immediately waved his hand and signaled that he would wait a moment before talking on the phone. Oh yeah, see you this weekend, I'll call you back later. Hearing this, Chae-huk wondered, are we meeting anyone this weekend? Dan-hoo immediately replied, he's my middle school friend, he also plays volleyball, he wants to meet us this weekend, let's go. Min-hon then asked who it was. He also thinks that everyone will know that it is the counterpart to Do Ji-ho from Hangkwang. Just heard that name. Chae-huk surprised, why do you mean Do Ji-ho? Min-hon's reaction was equally surprising, who represents the national youth team. Scene change at the large lecture hall of Hangkwang High School. Who is that? Who did you meet on the weekend? There is the appearance of a person drinking water. Oh my god. Hey, my friend, let's watch it together. He's the arch-rival student of Hangkwang High School. Every member of the team seemed very excited when they heard this news. Returning to the staff room, the teacher tried very hard to prevent the volleyball club from shutting down. From now on, we must do our best to prevent that from happening again. In the future, if something like this happens, please report back to me immediately, and if you need anything, just tell me. Yes, thank you very much. Well, there's another person named Ha-seong, he was expelled from school. The teacher immediately told him that Ha-seong was not expelled but had transferred schools. Don't worry about that, just pay attention to the rest of the students, you know. Yes, I will do well. So let's do it well from now on, you can go now. This situation makes the vice principal worried. The violence at this school is not good at all. We have made the principal worried. This will not happen again. He then sighed in relief. The National High School Volleyball Tournament is it. This is our opportunity. If the victims of school violence succeed in the competition, I can gain the principal's trust again. How are the kids on the volleyball team doing? Can you come over here for a moment? Did you call me? Back to the Dan-hoo group. Oh so great, he's really Do Ji-ho's friend. He's really Do Ji-ho. He immediately confirmed again. That's right, he is a friend, older brother. Seeing him like that, Min-hon turned around to correct himself. Do Ji-ho was so rude, he was like that just now. But Chae-huk is still excited. After all, we will practice with the real Hangkwang school. But Dan-hoo doesn't really think so. Isn't that a bit difficult? I'll try talking about this and see. But don't get your hopes up too much. Chae-huk showed an excited expression. Yes, I won't expect anything. Dashing his hopes, he turned to ask, but don't we have a libero? Chae-huk's mood immediately darkened. Libero, I still haven't found him. Dan-hoo saw that, so he encouraged. Now we can search slowly. we will search among the second-year students. Let's meet on Saturday at the bus stop in front. Just in case, bring your gym clothes. The day of departure has finally come. Everyone had gathered together now except Chae-huk. He liked this the most, but now he came the latest. That's it. Where are we going? Dan-hoo replied. We can get off at Hangkwang intersection. After a while, Chae-huk finally arrived. Hello, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so late, I'm so sorry to everyone. Seeing that, Min-hon immediately reprimanded me. Can't you come early? Everyone is waiting for you. He immediately said, sorry, I have to go to the convenience store, but why are you all standing here? Please sit down. While passing there he saw someone again. Where are you going, Min-chae? He coldly replied, I have to say it, it's him again. So Chae-huk was still excited. No need to say anything. Do you know Hangkwang? We will go and play volleyball there. Seeing the two of them talking to each other, Min-hon came over and asked, do you know each other? Chae-huk said, last time he paid for the bus fare for me, freshman year in back. Min-chae. Hey, the bus is here, Min-hon, we're taking that trip, right? Min-chae is going on this trip, I'll pay for it. He thinks he doesn't need me to get off at another stop. The bus has already moved. A little while later we arrived at the station. Before getting off at the station, Chae-huk turned to say, Min-chae, see you later. Then suddenly a voice rang out, causing Dan-hoo to pay attention. Kim Dan-hoo. So it was his friend, Oh Gi-ho. He is extremely lively, long time no see. Seeing us come all the way here, Dan-hoo asked, are you coming to greet me? He thought, I'm afraid you'll get lost. Chae-huk attracted attention by bowing too enthusiastically. Why did he come all the way? Naval is always so ineffective. Dan-hoo looked at the people who had something in common and wondered, is this the uniform, are you going to wear it too? He explained, I just came from school to join our team. On the other hand, Soo-hun thinks that the uniform is like the team symbol, so you guys should wear it every time you practice. This is all you guys have, is it all yet? Dan-hoo said, well, my stamp still doesn't have a libero. Coming here, Kang Jeon-do looked towards the bus. It seemed like he also recognized the person on that bus. What about those people who were with me? Hearing that, Chae-huk immediately looked over to see, who's Min-chae? He's not with me. Do you know Min-chae? Does he also play volleyball? Or else? Stop. What is it? You know him. Let's not go. Everyone is waiting for the captain to go. Let's go. It was the same bus but stopped at a different stop. Coming out of the car door was Min-chae. In the middle of a bustling city, walking on the street, I remembered a while ago, lately I often see clouds of kids playing volleyball. It's really annoying. Suddenly someone called him, oh bac Min-chae. He heard him calling and immediately turned around. Who was it? He couldn't believe his eyes. You're Chongqing, Australia. What's wrong with North Min-chae? Are you okay? Back to 2 years ago at Sungui Middle and High School Sports Center. Inside everyone is very excited to play volleyball. Hey, why can't you help it? Is your arm crippled? At this time, Minnie still didn't know about volleyball, so she sat in a corner. Watching them play, he thought to himself, how fun is that? Then suddenly the teacher came and asked him, hey, Min-chae is waiting for So-don. Why don't you come in here if you're not bored? He replied, hello teacher, I'm a bit tired now so I'll just watch. What's wrong with this kid? Tired. Have you tried thinking, don't you want to play volleyball? I will teach you well. But before that suggestion he was still determined, otherwise I would just play a little while waiting for the So-don like this. It's a bit stressful. What a pity. Anyway, if you change your mind, just say so. After talking with the teacher, he went to the team. Everyone gather together. And this is Kang Jeon-do. Next is Chongqing Auc and Kim So-don. Today we will practice the formation, everyone in position. Soon it was afternoon. At a home for boys. Min-chae criticized him for trying to avoid something, so he looked around to see if anyone was there. There's no teacher here, right? I came to the department because I was in a hurry. If I got caught, I would be cursed to death. While passing by a room he saw a person standing in front of it. He's also in the club. He's finished practicing. So-don is probably waiting for me. What are you doing standing there bewildered? But you heard his small words. Do you think third-year Jeon-do and second-year So-don are the best? That's right, Jeon-do has passed his second year. So-don is the best among his peers. He's also a promising libero. Oh Kim So-don, you're good at it, aren't you? Libero Chin-uc too, he's very hopeful. A Chin-uc, that's right, anyway So-don is better. Then there was a very angry smash against the wall. Chin-uc's face darkened. He angrily said that he had received money from his mother and that he could not leave it like this. Chong Chin-uc got angry and punched the wall really hard, making a loud noise that made Bak Min-cheek startled and turned around and asked, "What's wrong with you?" He just shouted with a gloomy face, "Is there a problem? Go ahead and worry about it." Bak Min-chi wondered what was going on, if he was afraid. Then he turned and left, ignoring Chang Chin-yusi's question, "What are you talking about?" Suddenly a sound came from inside the room, "Who is out there?" The teacher and Coach Bak opened the door to see who it was. Seeing him, the teacher asked, "Are you in China?" The other teacher was also surprised and asked, "Are you Chin Yusi? What was that sound just now? What's going on?" He hesitated for a while, then told me to come meet the instructor. Then he was taken away by the teacher. On the way, the teacher suddenly remembered and said, "Coach Bak, I forgot I needed to talk to Chin Yusi, you go first." Seeing that, the coach immediately left, leaving private space for the two of them. The teacher shyly asked, "Chin Yusi, how's your mother? Is everything okay?" He hesitantly replied, "Your mother is fine, but if I heard the instructor say something like that, I probably wouldn't be able to play well." "Teacher, have you heard that story?" Chin Yu continued to say, "Teacher, suppose that when I go to high school, if I lose to Kim So-don, then what's the use of my mother giving you money?" Hearing that, the teacher replied, "Yes, Chin Yusi is the person I need to take care of first. I will take care of it, so don't worry about it." I temporarily accepted the teacher's answer, said, "Yes, I won't tell my mother about this, the teacher knows how to do it well." After saying that, he turned around and left. The teacher stayed behind and said, "Okay, then be careful." He exclaimed, "Look at that cheeky kid, oh my god." At that moment, Chin Yusi's mother called. It really came at the right time. He answered the phone, "Yes, Chin, Australian mother, are you doing well these days? It seems like my mother has high hopes for her son and believes in the teacher's abilities." He kept saying, "Of course, ability. Hers is growing very fast." He laughed out loud and replied, "Yes, that's right, again." From far away, behind the wall, Kong Chun-do stood there and heard all that conversation. His expression at that time looked very mysterious. After that, the teacher gathered all the team members to the gym and prepared to announce something. "Look at the exclamation paper. Well, I will announce the starting lineup for next week's match. Number 1 Lee Min-huk, number 2 Chang Chin-yusi, number 3 Kong Jae-do, number 4 Play Go Osigu, number 5 Guban Seo, number 6 Lee Ho-dion." Hearing the announcement, Chin Yusi turned to look at So-don and chuckled. Everyone was also whispering, "Why is So-don not in the lineup? Is that so?" So-don sighed and felt depressed. Everyone was also talking loudly about Chang Chin-yusi. Would he join the main squad? I heard a proud smile. After all, he couldn't be on the bench forever. Right, Kim So-don? He suddenly received the question, then he smiled and replied, "Congratulations, Chino." He rolled his eyes, smiled inwardly, thinking, why bother pretending? From now on, you'll just be in reserve, you bastard, then burst out laughing. 1 year later, Bak Min-chae was sitting and talking with So-don. Min-chia asked if he lost again this time. He sadly replied, "Yes, this time I lost again without scoring any more points." Min-chae suddenly asked why. "When did you lose?" He said the second half. "So what do you think? Now that I'm in third year, I have to return to the starting lineup. I'm practicing very hard, but I'm sure the instructor has a plan." Suddenly Chin Yu appeared and deliberately bumped into him, making him scream in panic. After that, he pretended to apologize and left, but still did not forget to interfere. Why did he get in the way like that? When Bak Min-chae saw that, he said he was crazy. "What do you mean?" I saw the discontent and angrily spoke up, intending to teach him on So-don's behalf. I shouted, "Chang Chin-yusi, So-don asked me to come back and comfort Min-chi to leave it alone. It's okay." Min-chi heard that and got angry and blamed him. "It's okay, he was trying to cause trouble. You're too gentle. Sometimes you have to be strong." He didn't know what to say, just remained silent to show that he had heard clearly. Loud noises rang out from inside the domed building, creating a feeling of tension and suspense. So So-don just saved the ball, a spectacular block. Everyone outside shouted and praised, "Very good, Kim So-don." Chin Yusi stood behind him, jealously thinking that that bastard was good at saving the ball. He was looking at the coach with jealousy. So-don blocked that ball, making his team regret it. "What a pity." So-don shouted. The ball came and prepared to go. "Sure, it's good, I can handle it." "You shout okay, I'll catch it, my shadow." Chin Australia also shouted, scrambling, "My shadow." Then Chin Yusi, he took the opportunity to push So-don down. He was pushed down, but still didn't understand why. A loud sound rang out. So-don twisted his leg in pain and screamed. Everyone also ran in panic and shouted So-don. The coach walked up to Chin Yusi and scolded him harshly, "Hey, Chin Yu-si, who would train so aggressively. He replied, I'm sorry, I was about to block it but Kim So-don came running. The coach said it shouldn't be like that anyway, it's a big deal, first go to the club's waiting room and wait for the emergency room. The coach asked a member to help him. So-don saw that and immediately told the coach it's okay, you can go alone. The teacher worriedly asked if it's okay, can you walk? He slowly replied yes, it's okay. The teacher continued to say that there is also an instructor in the changing room, so please tell him immediately. He was limping, dragging his feet to the dressing room. When he was about to open the door, he heard the teacher's voice. Ah, Northern reporter, Jiandu, I heard that she attended Hankwang School, don't you know that you can do well? Hey, we have nothing to worry about. So-don heard that and thought to himself that it seemed like he was busy on the phone. He felt his legs ached and struggled. Where should he sit? I suddenly thought, should I go to the bathroom? Then he decided to go to the toilet and sit on the toilet to rest. He sat thoughtfully and thought. Min-chi was right. There was less than a year left, so he couldn't just wait forever. If my leg gets better, should I practice more defense? I'll have to ask the instructor. Suddenly he heard the teacher go into the bathroom, surprised and wondered, oh instructor, are you still busy on the phone? Why are you talking to someone? Yes, Chin Yu-si is in the official team, please contact me. Continue to say yes. I sat in the bathroom and was shocked to hear the conversation. The teacher continued to say, you mean So-don, right? Don't, it's not like that. I'll repay you. So-don, why don't you send him to a suitable school? Hearing that question, his heart stopped and he was stunned. Wondering what this means, don't worry about anything, what to repay, what to send. His face darkened as if he had realized something, it couldn't be. The instructor ended the conversation, okay, go home. So-don opened the bathroom door. He slowly walked out, his mind was in turmoil. He asked the instructor what he meant when he called, so the teacher was surprised and asked So-don, why are you here, aren't you practicing? He asked seriously. Again, what did that phone call mean? The teacher didn't pretend anymore, he sighed, did you hear everything? He thought to himself, this is going to be trouble again. He was silent for a long time, then raised his voice seriously and asked, wasn't it because of your ability that you were pushed out of the competition? The teacher replied, So-don. He felt angry in his heart and muttered that it was not because of your strength. Then he turned and left, leaving the teacher confused and scratching his head. Suddenly, the instructor spoke up, So-don, if something happens, if your parents, the press or anyone finds out, I will use all my connections in any means. The teacher came closer, threatening with his shoulder, I will block all your paths, so be quiet So-don, I will find a school for you. At that moment I felt like I was falling into the abyss, feeling my heart is heavy. A week later, the space is in silence. Suddenly, Bak Min-chae rushed in and pulled the door open, shouting, Kim So-don, what are you doing? It's been a week, what's going on with you? He panicked when he saw So-don. What's wrong with your leg? What should you do with your foot like that for volleyball? He replied that the ligament was stretched. He walked closer to Bak Min-chae and said in a sad voice, from now on I won't play volleyball anymore, I will also change schools, please get out of here. Bak Min-chae asked harshly if it was Chin Chong Australia's fault, but he did not answer that question. He seriously asked again, you don't play volleyball because of Chin Chong Australia, right? So-don bit his lip and choked back and replied, I don't know. He burst into tears loudly, he was confused, hesitatingly said he didn't know for whom, I don't know anymore. Chin Chong Yu was sitting and talking to a member of the team, hey, did you watch volleyball yesterday? Mun Songbin was really crazy, to be honest, Hunus Yu did it all. Chong Yu asked, what are you talking about? Then laughed, gosh, you don't seem to know much about these things. The two of them were talking when Min-chia shouted, Chong Chin Yu, So-don was done by you, wasn't it? Chin Yu, hearing that, what do you think it's about? Oh, so it's about the ankle. He looked straight at Min-chi, I told you so. It was an accident, what can you do if you move and bump into each other? So-don's smiling image appeared. Chin Australia asked curiously, but what did you do when you came to talk about this? So-don's image appeared again, but this time he burst into tears. Chin Australia asked why, who are you? Min-chi was angry and screamed loudly, hey, you son of a bitch. Bak Min-chae asked Chong Chin Yu, why do you still play volleyball? What did he say? Do you think I can't play volleyball in the future? What did I do? Oh, you told the instructor. He also said it wasn't my fault, but why did you so miserable? Min-chae said he was a bully. Chin Yu replied, you're the bully, you've been suspended from school. After he finished speaking, he laughed and mocked, continuing to say I will continue to participate in the competition and succeed. Become a professional player. Min-chi was angry, the blood rushed to his brain and wanted to go punch him. He said, "Oh my god, hey bastard, I have to go, I'm very busy, unlike you." He clenched his hands in regret. I was thinking wrong. He remembered talking to Sun Dan, "Do you know Hang Kwang? We would go and play volleyball there. If it happened in the volleyball club we would be on the same side." Min-chia is rushing like crazy, right from the beginning, it was not entrusted to them. He clenched his teeth thinking I should have handled it myself. So-dan was feeling calm, as expected of a prestigious high school, the size of this school. He was full of praise for the school when a voice behind him also spoke up. He knew it was his first time coming here. He turned around and suddenly, "Hey Lee Chae-huk," he screamed, startling him. He looked over there, his mouth open in surprise. Min-chi was standing in front of the door, breathing heavily. He breathed and said, "Boy, I will also participate in the contest." His words made So-dan surprised, confused, stammering and asking if I should go out there, "But we still haven't found an expert." Defense. Min-chi seriously said, "Let me be your team's defense, instead of losing to those bastards, even if I die." Kang Jiandu was surprised and asked why he was here. "Kang Jiandu, do you know him? Up until now you've been talking like you already know him." He replied, "Well, in middle school, I met him a few times on the volleyball team." Sun Dan asked Min-chi who is also on the volleyball team. He replied, "No, not at all, he often comes and practices there." He smiled, "After all, he used to play volleyball, right, Min-chi?" "Middle school, I don't know what happened to you." Min-chi stood there bewildered and was about to say something. Jiandu said, "Don't let our team lose." Hearing that, So-dan happily extended his hand to welcome you back to the team. "Let's play volleyball together." "Coach, thank you." Today's interview. The reporter said that the content of today's interview is expected to be published along with content related to the highball competition in the next issue. Coach Dusung replied that it was okay, I should be the one thanking him. Anyway, it was unexpected, I didn't expect the coach to be active for that national competition. He replied, That's right. The reporter continued to say, "Yes, I understand that, but am I wrong?" The coach replied, "I think it's not bad, the intention to expand the player pool is good. But, I think it's still too early for Korea to organize a competition by integrating elite volleyball teams and regular teams. Regardless of the eligibility of non-professional volleyball teams to participate, the table for professional teams will not change. Those students over there are students in the amateur volleyball team nearby. There isn't a single good leader, which means that even if such kids appear, the possibility of getting a spot is elite is very low. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion." Looking at So-dan happily playing volleyball, "You said there are always exceptions." The captain suddenly remembered, I talked too long, I'm sorry, you must be very busy, so please be careful when you go back." The reporter said, "It's okay, thank you again for this interview, I have to go to this. So everyone please be careful." The reporter behind asked, "The senior's interview ended faster than I thought." He asked bewilderedly, "What should I do?" She hesitated then answered, "So let's watch the match for a bit, I want to introduce you to the Hangkwang school football team." Down on the soccer field, everyone was asking each other, "Is it okay if you guys practice with us?" "It's okay, it's okay." His team member asked, "Is it okay, Captain?" Su-hun said, "The more opponents we rub against, the stronger we will be, practice is always welcome for anyone." Came the voices of the members of the couple. "Su-hun, we're here, just in time for our kids to arrive too." His team members were happily entering and looked quite energetic. Ka Ji-yun, member number 11 of his team, looked like he didn't like crowds. Cha In-hun, wow, this video got a good reaction. Min Chi-don, sorry I forgot the headband. So Hundu, it must be so much fun, I'm so excited. Chi-don asked the captain when it would start. He said, "Now, how many points should we play? Is 10 points enough?" Jiandu said, 10 points, why? If that's the case then it's not very effective, they should also have a chance to win. Then he raised his hand and said 5 points. Su-hun said, "If you guys get 5 points while we get 10 points then you win the set. This size is probably fine, right?" The match started. The reporter said, "I was nervous." She replied, "Why is that?" He said, "Even though it was a practice match, it was a match against a strong local team at Hangkwang High School and I was looking forward to it. I'm especially looking forward to the player Du Ji-ho. This is the match of the volleyball team representing the national youth team." "You're right, because this is the first time I've seen it." "Do you know anyone else in the cave?" "Please answer me no." "Well, I will explain, so please watch and listen carefully. A member of your team thinks that no matter how angry they are, let's just take 5 points first, add in a 2-person counterattack formation. How disrespectful is that? Ji-Yuan successfully blocked the ball. Senior Ji-Yuan, dear. First, Du Ji-Ho was the mainstay of the attack. He threw himself behind Ji-Yuan. In volleyball, height is very important, so being 1 meter 84 is clearly a weakness in the counterpassing position. Ji-Ho, he's coming really fast. Get into a position to prepare for a counterattack. But jumping high will be enough to cover that weakness. He jumped up, and against left-handers, I thought maybe the average volleyball team doesn't have much contact with left-handers. Successfully hit the ball back with extremely strong force. Team members often looked at the ball in bewilderment, it was so fast. The ball hits the ground at lightning speed, you won't even be able to touch the ball. Ji-Ho cheered, okay, 1 point ahead. After that shot, Lee Chae-huk was stunned. It was truly the opposite of Hang-Kwang. The ball flies high. Although the shadow's power was weak, it accurately aimed at the space between me and the Min-Chae. Min-Chae shouted to leave it to me. He successfully caught the ball. He encouraged him. He caught the ball very well. Ka Ji-Yuan exclaimed that he had already blocked the ball. Look at your team defending, on the left. Sorry, but our attacker. Jiandu glanced at his opponent as if he had predicted his team's purpose. The ball is kicked high and the attack begins. Su-Hun's team successfully parried that attack. Counterattack and successfully win another point. Cha In-hun high-five Ji-Yuan, good at blocking the ball. Points from pond kicks are also good, of course. Jiandu says blocking the ball is the first defense and the most effective way to score. The reporter exclaimed, blocking the ball is also great. The reporter also said that player Kang Jiandu was known as a promising middle blocker even when he was in middle school. He asked, does Hang-Kwang School not have weaknesses? She said weaknesses. Of course. Cheers, serve here. The referee signals the start of the next round. All of Chae-huk's attacks were blocked, the ball rebounded and was quickly blocked. Min-Chae shouted quickly receive the ball. Min-han, compared to other strengths, Hang-Kwang's floor defense is quite weak. All attacks were stopped and there was no other way. He threw the ball high and shouted loudly, you have to punch it. Ta Kian, he jumped up really high and hit hard. But Ji-Yuan and In-hun's defenses were too strong, unable to penetrate their defenses. Jiandu wondered what that was Hang-Kwang's fatal weakness. The ball is flying out at extremely fast speed. Until last year, the ball went so far that it seemed like a point was scored. Suddenly Hundu flew to success rebounding the ball, so Hundu, a passionate player who once excelled in middle school, joined Hang-Kwang. They deserve to set their sights on semifinals of the national tournament or beyond. Hundu, it's so beautiful. Everyone takes turns passing the ball, getting into an attack position. A beautiful, successful smash into your team's space. Hundu was happy, his index was already 3-0. Ji-Ho said, Hundu is too dangerous, this is just a place to practice, what should I do if I get hurt? He happily replied, I'm sorry. But it's great, isn't it? Ji-Han gave a thumbs up in recognition. When Chung-ho saw that phase, his heart was filled with praise. I thought he would go out, but he saved the ball, not to mention scoring a counterattack. She replied that because of that, even the middle school clubs had given up attacking, the player So Hundu was always used as an attacker. Middle school volleyball clubs don't have defensive positions, she said, looking at a player on the court. That pass pierced both of them. This is the first time I've seen that face. Where did he come from? Appeared in another development. Chin-don feels like number 1 and number 6 seem to match. He tossed the ball up and said, then, aim for number 5, the ball was thrown high. Confuses number 5. Then player number 5 blocked the ball but seemed unsuccessful, deflecting the ball elsewhere. Min-Chi saw that and immediately turned around and ran towards the direction of the balloon. But it seemed to fail, causing him to collapse to the ground. Chin-don exclaimed, it's okay, it looks so messy. The next rounds are still being played, but almost every attack is aimed at player number 5. Min-Chi shouted move away. He ran in time and successfully blocked the ball. The team takes turns catching the ball and then serving it. Su-Hun's team also did not give up, continuously blocking and counterattacking. In-hun's father just caught a beautiful ball. The members all cheered for senior In-hun to be so beautiful. In-hun ran to Chi-don and said, my senior wants to try it. The whole stadium seemed to stand still as they watched him follow the ball. The ball is flying at a speed as fast as the wind and is about to fly out of reach. Touch it, touch it. I was nervous, held my breath and watched, then touched. That finger finally touched. He clenched his fists to celebrate scoring a goal as if he held strength in his hands. Dan Hu confidently and arrogantly said, guys, I'll go one-on-one with Chiho. The whistle blows, the next game begins. T. Kyung continued to attack, all with very decisive shots, but they were all blocked by Ji-Yuan. Hundu and Chidon are also coordinating very smoothly. Kim Dan-hoo is trying his best to defend against Ji-ho's attacks. Ji-ho saw that he was better, and felt that Kim Dan-hoo had grown a little taller. Dan-hoo was pleased. Don't be so surprised, I will block better. Chae-huk is also defending against difficult shots. Dan-hoo did a great job, just a little bit, but he almost stopped it. The referee shouted the score was 7-3, making both teams nervous and excited. From now on we have to change this atmosphere. The referee tossed the ball high. All eyes are focused on the ball that is slowly falling. Choi Si-don ran over, eyes filled with confidence as if he was holding the ball tightly in his hand. He was in a position to steal the ball. The ball was also approaching Soo-hun. Hundu standing behind saw the strange movement and wondered, why is the posture like that? Can you fight in a lower position like that? Si-don hit the ball flying at extremely fast speed, passing through the defense of his team. Hundu was surprised and bewildered. Someone could hit the ball like that. Soo-hun yelled at Hundu not to be so dumbfounded. He immediately regrouped and responded yes, then jumped to successfully block the ball. But that risky block made me fall. I just passed it to you. Soo-hun's team continuously attacked. Successfully scored index was 8-3. Then they scored another point and their index increased to 9-3. They almost won with only the last shot remaining. Chung-ho asked the senior if he saw it. Was the ball originally hit like that? No, who would do such a ridiculous thing? You can touch the net and see the direction of the attack, and above all there is no reason to do so. Si-don saw such an index and stood there, feeling disappointed and sad. Chung-ho continued to say that even though he had actually used that method to overcome the barrier, So-hai replied that because this was the first time the ball had no such force, it was impossible to be bowled so Hundu. You can't beat the fire with that. Ji-ho asked what is that, is there someone like In-hun's father? Soo-hun replied he was a bit confused but it was just luck. Kang Jeon-do is sitting on the viewing platform. He also felt that there was something very different about that player, thinking about this person. It's Bak Min-chae, he's standing there like he's thinking about some strategy. When I was in middle school, I thought I had done a little. Is this what it's all about? The ball was kicked and flew high. Hehe, standing to block the ball but still thinking about something. The index is already 9 or 3, only 1 point left. 3 points are just points from the opponent's errors. Is this the difference? Soo-hun's team's defense was too strong, not allowing any ball to score any more points. Very good fielding. Chung-ho saw, the middle barrier over there is quite high. He did better than I thought. Among the teams that have faced Hangkwang, there are quite a few one-on-one teams, all of which are due Chi-ho player control strategies. But all of those teams lost to Hangkwang, and it's very good. The match is going on very dramatically. Everyone is still in the spirit of receiving the ball. Dun-ho was still enthusiastically blocking ball after ball. But Chi-ho is not everything. Hangkwang is currently the closest famous team to comprehensive volleyball at the high school level. Soo-hun's team was squinting and signaling. All of them are coordinating smoothly, without any gaps. The football match is being pushed to a high level, making everyone watching feel nervous and breathless. Ji-ho hits the ball, causing your team to run around trying to block it. Soo-hun jumped high into a batting position. Seeing that, Si-don did not give up and jumped up into a position to block the attack. But behind him, In-hun was already in an aerial attack position. The room member was surprised to see that posture. That. An attack made by the back player using the flash time difference from a front center block as a back center time difference attack. Chae-huk doesn't have the heart to die at the end of the first match without even being able to score a point. The ball is flying towards an empty space with no defenders. It's getting closer and closer, it's just a distance away. It seems like the match has ended meaninglessly. Suddenly, Min-chi jumped out, reflected spectacularly, and continued walking. Min-hon shouted, telling him to concentrate. The battle is not over yet. Chae-huk is bewildered and has not yet regained his form. Seeing that there was still a chance to win, the rebounded ball was flying high. He smiled, seeing that the opportunity was still there. Min-chi criticized his confident expression as he responded, "Let's move forward together." At this moment, everyone in the team seems to have increased strength. Everyone seemed to become one. They united only through his eyes. Everyone was full of faith. They rhythmically passed the ball to each other. The time had come for Chae-huk to jump into a very decisive attack position. Chung-ho opened his mouth. Could it be that the other team also used the same attack as their team just now? So-hai replied no with a serious face. Having been caught out, they successfully blocked that attack. Chae-huk looked surprised, not at the right time. The attack was quick and the flank did not pose any danger. Soo-hun successfully counterattacked. If you imitate it clumsily, it is impossible to penetrate the fire. Index 13, the war ended and the Cave Light team won. She had a satisfied look on her face, thinking that anyway. In a normal volleyball team there is no instructor. Moving in groups will be the same. Each individual skill is lacking, but if you mature and correct it, it's worth looking forward to. The war ended, the suspenseful atmosphere dissipated, and everyone relaxed and felt much more relieved. Ji-ho happily burst out laughing. What's wrong? We almost lost. Much better than I thought. Jeondu said. It's even better than I thought. You're a first year, right? Kyung bewilderedly replied, oh yes, I am a first-year student. Jeondu exclaimed, the first year is already so strong, the effect is good. Kyung didn't understand, confused, and asked again, what effect is that? In-hun explained it like this because he played well, so he went crazy because of the performance. Hearing that, Kyung humbly replied, ah yes, thank you. In-hun hesitantly added, but why is he like that? Ji-ho laughed and said, that also means you play well. Ignoring Jeondu, who was calmly praising him, Chidon just stood behind silently observing. Suddenly he asked a player on his team, do Minhon, right? Minhon heard that and immediately replied, yes. He continued to say that I heard you were very famous in middle school. You were a second-passing genius. Minhon hesitantly replied, that's right. Chidon raised his voice and said what he felt as he stepped out of the well, making him stop. What? He constantly mocked that the current level was exactly at the junior high school level, making Minhon uncomfortable. Just in time, at that moment Soo-hun walked over and said, Chidon, stop, respect the other person, acting like that is not good. Soo-hun sincerely apologized on his behalf. Suddenly the coach from afar called out, Soo-hun, since we're done, let's bring you guys here for a bit. He replied, yes, I know and will come soon. He turned around and told everyone, the coach called so I had to go for a while. Jeondu said, go out. Constantly mocking and looking at the school with that electric pole over there, Dan, who still smiled without any bitterness, and told Chae-huk to leave it alone. After that, their team left. Captain Soo-hun reminded Chidon, why are you like that? He only replied that I was just cheering for him as a second passer. Minhon stood there in deep thought, that person. After a while, Chiha's team also left together. Dan, who asked if you didn't expect to eat even a single point, right? It's okay, the opponent plays very well. Chae-huk sighed in disappointment and said that even so, 5 points was worth a try, but still. He stammered out if the last attack was Odin or someone else. If it weren't for me, they might get points, right? Suddenly a voice behind him spoke up, responding to his question. No, So-hai said if it wasn't you but someone else, it wouldn't have led to that situation. Chae-huk was startled and turned around to see who it was. So-hai continued, I only watched one of your matches today, your team only knows how to attack. She reaffirmed her words, no, it should be said that I can only attack exactly like that. She said as she walked down, surprising the whole team. Listen, I think there's a problem with blocking the ball. The attacker also does not participate in the defense, passing the attack over and over again. A defensive burden that the libero could not shoulder on its own. The match will continue if you guys know how to share it. Changho School's Lee Chae-huk, right, next to it is Minhon, and I wasn't sure until I got closer. When they heard that, they wondered why you knew our names, she replied. Of course I know you guys are famous, but you guys have no intention of attending the convention. Her question made the whole team deep in thought. She said they might fight Hankwang again. At school, someone was whispering to each other, Coach. In the teacher's room, yes, the kids wanted to achieve good results in the competition. The vice principal is discussing with teacher Bak Byung-sun about the volleyball team. Shouldn't there be a proper instructor? Bak Byung-sun answered yes, but it's not an elite club, but what if it's useful? The vice principal said to invite one person first. I heard that Chae-huk and Minhon are also very good, the other members also shine very brightly. Who knows, maybe our kids will win the prize. Bak Byung-sun replied yes, then I will go invite the teacher. Preparing for the competition must be very busy. If you want to participate, you have to register. The vice principal laughed and said that's what teachers should do, so I hope you'll take care of me. About a month later, guys, let's gather here. Teacher Bak Byung-sun is announcing, you said it last time, right? You're inviting a coach. Chae-huk cheerfully replied yes, the teacher said so. How is it, teacher? Is that person coming? The teacher replied yes, he decided to come here today, so please listen to him. He looked back and smiled and said, the teacher is here. Chae-huk eagerly turned back to see what the teacher was like. Oh, where were he? He was bewildered, paused, his smile gradually fading. Looking at the coach's silhouette, he looked a little familiar. The coach came closer, gasped and shouted something. The coach is Lee Do-ho, Chae-huk's uncle. He was still surprised and asked why he came here. Dan-ho turned to ask him. D-Huck came closer and patted my head. I don't know about this kid who is preparing to be a coach. I said no, but can you come here? The coach nodded to say hello to teacher Byung-sun and replied, why couldn't he come? He was a professional athlete and had a certificate, why couldn't he come? He reminded and complained that in the future when practicing, he would not be uncle and nephew but the coach. The players should stop calling him uncle. I've already heard what Chae-Huck said a little bit, so let's say hello later. Let's start with the main issue. I didn't come here just because this is my nephew's school. I also decided to start as a coach here. So let go of those soft thoughts. Our goal is the national convention in August. It must be at least the national finals. When everyone heard such a high goal, they were skeptical and asked again in the final round, is it possible? Why do you have such an important start? He said it would be very difficult for you guys, but since I'm here, I personally prefer it against weaker people. From now on I will practice and train you no less than the elites. While speaking, the instructor interrupted him. What he gives now is the parents' consent for the activities. Club sports activities before the competition. On the school side, the principal and vice principal both agree before proceeding. All parents need is their signature. Of course, that does not mean neglecting schoolwork. Min-hon looked at the note worriedly asked if it needed parents' consent. The teacher answered yes. Do you see the signature below? Just sign there. I heard that and sighed nervously. The coach announced that from tomorrow we will officially practice. Today we just need to walk. It was dark, everyone went home. Min-hon had just arrived at the door. When he got home, he saw his mother. He asked, Mom, are you at home? His mother was standing in front of the house, looking annoyed and asking if she had come home yet. Because my work schedule ended early, my mother came here. I didn't seem happy to see her. He replied that it's not like that. I was just surprised. Mom saw the results of the March mock exam. It was very bad. What are you going to do with your second year? He was worried, his voice trembling. I'm sorry, Mom said. Hurry up and sit at the table, if you don't want to have a bad life. He looked down sadly and replied. His mother watched him slowly enter as if she had discovered something. His mother spoke up and said it was the smell of sweat. Do you still play volleyball? Min-hon's mother questioned him with a dissatisfied attitude. Why don't you answer if you still play volleyball? He turned around and harshly replied no, no. His mother continued to question, what about that sweat smell? Min-hon came up with an excuse to answer. It was just because she was so frustrated that she ran a little. The concerned mother advised, if you're frustrated, read a book, don't try too hard. He pouted, holding back his emotions. Yes, I'm sorry. Min-hon's mother sternly warned, the mock exam in June is approaching. If there is no achievement, there will be no freedom at all. Mom will sign up for extra classes from the center or a tutor, so please study properly, do you understand? He bowed his head and could only answer yes. Sitting in a dark room, with only a little light from the study lamp, Min-hon sat thoughtfully, looking at the calendar. There will be a mock exam in June. There will be final exams in July. And in August the national tournament. Looking at the packed schedule, he could only sigh sadly. He must be very busy. There was a time when a boy from another school ran to him and told him, it was because of Min-hon, right? I heard you're famous, but your second passing genius is exactly like a middle school genius, right? He thought about it and said to himself, what am I good at? In the volleyball practice field, an extremely dramatic exchange between both teams is taking place. The teacher stood outside, concentrating on observing each movement. When they saw the ball suddenly rushing towards them, the students of Kyung-hoa School were extremely surprised. In-gug was so nervous he didn't dare take his eyes off the ball. D-ho silently commented on each of the children's ways of dealing with situations. The ball blocking effect was very good. After the match, the male Jinkwon of Kyung-hoa University's volleyball team smiled and announced, Mr. D-ho, we have to go now, sir. The teacher replied in a friendly manner, so you guys also have to practice. Thank you for your help. I'll also rely on you in the future. The Jinkwon said politely, thanks to him too, of course I have to come. We were very happy too. D-ho waved goodbye and didn't forget to say, let me send my regards to the coach too. Now is the time to start activities with students. First of all, I heard about it, but today when I saw it directly, I saw a lot of problems. First of all, the issue of physical fitness is given top priority. Next are the basic skills directly related to your own strength. In-gug can't attack quickly. When he sees you blocking the ball it's not impossible to do it. He honestly answered, I don't know about that anymore. I'm afraid it will become a strange habit I've never done before, so I asked, what about blocking the ball? Have I learned it yet? And also Min-hon. Lately your health condition doesn't seem to be good, please pay attention to adjusting your condition, he replied gloomily yes. After pointing out the weaknesses of each teacher, he ended the training session here. Since then every day improving my physical strength, practicing basic skills and practicing hard for the match. A month has passed when I entered the practice room. My teacher was extremely surprised to see that the squad was not complete. Miss Min-hon. Chae-huk answered awkwardly. He said he was about to take the final exam so he had to study a bit before coming back. The teacher was extremely surprised to study. I heard there's an exam in June and he hasn't submitted his parents' consent form yet. Tomorrow when practicing with Chin Yu-si, remind him not to be late. Chae-huk nodded in response, Uncle, no. Sir. In the classroom of grade 1-2, Min-hon sat alone in the room, diligently studying. Looking at his eyes with dark circles, you can tell how much he had to stay up late to study. The next day in the stadium everyone started practicing again. When you see your opponent has passed the ball back to you, Min-hon seemed frozen and could only stare at the falling ball. The ball still rotates evenly in the air. He was so nervous that he was sweating like rain, and more seriously, his nose was bleeding. Now he had to time it right for Senior Ingut to attack quickly. Suddenly Min-hon couldn't stand on her feet. He stumbles and falls backwards. The ball just flew away from the net easily. Seeing him lying unconscious on the field, he worriedly shouted, "What's wrong with Min-hon? Are you okay?" After fainting, everyone took him to the hospital to monitor the situation. A while later Min-hon also woke up. The teacher asked about his health. "He's awake, why is this a hospital? Are you okay?" He suddenly sat up with a panicked look on his face. "What time is it?" The teacher replied, 6:20. Min-hon hurriedly told me to go home. It was too late, so I told him, "I already told your mother." He asked in fear, "Why did you tell Mom?" "Coach, I can't." The teacher immediately reassured him, "Don't worry what Teacher Byung-sun said." Min-hon breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, the teacher told him to rest a little longer. "I will take you home." He gently lay down. "Yes, thank you teacher, the saline infusion bag has also reduced a bit. The park in the evening is truly peaceful and very suitable for healing." Min-hon wondered, "Teacher, why are you here?" "I have to go home." Diho calmly told me to wait a bit and then left. "Do you think volleyball is fun?" He was glued to his phone and answered yes, it's fun. He started asking about your family. "I heard you briefly say that your mother is sensitive about achievements." He sadly replied yes, then he asked again, "Do you like volleyball?" He still only answered yes. My teacher gradually understood the problem. It turned out that it was my hobby. Diho turned his face away, thinking about something. "So how do you feel?" Min-hon still doesn't understand what he wants to ask. The teacher asked me again what I wanted to do. After saying that, the teacher put his hand on his shoulder as a word of encouragement. "Min-hon, although I cannot discuss academic matters with your parents, young years of age 17 at this time, maybe this is the brightest time in your life. I don't want to spend such a once-in-a-lifetime time to meet someone's expectations. Of course I could also be one of them. I mean, something you want to do well and you're happy doing it. Don't give up, young man." The image of the strict mother appeared in Min-hon's mind. He was silent for a long while. Then I finally said my thoughts. "I have no intention of giving up because there are people who still want to win. I'm so lucky to say so." At the gym, Teacher Diho shouted loudly, "Dan-hua Kim Dan-hu." He immediately replied, "Yes, coach." He said, "Come out here for a moment and get this." After a while of getting things, he placed a super large box on the table. Everyone is curious what this is. Choi Si-don excitedly speculated, could it be that the time has finally come? The uniform inside is everyone's jersey. After wearing the new shirts, I complimented them on how beautiful they were. "Who designed this shirt?" Si-don chuckled and replied, "Who else but him?" The teacher seriously told some things to everyone. Listen while wearing them. The competition won't be long until it starts. The match management system has also changed a bit because of the scale of this conference. Was expanded by the federation. The group stage will be organized by region. The whole country is divided into 8 regions. Each region has 2 groups of 4 teams each, so 8 teams will compete in our region. Chae-huk was surprised at the number of participants. So many teams registered. My teacher answered yes. At least half of them are normal volleyball clubs, like, you know what I mean. Don't even think about losing more than half of them. Don't embarrass me, Dan-hu thought worriedly. The real competition has begun. Diho continued, only first and second place of each group will qualify. Min-hon asked in bewilderment, so 32 teams will compete in the national tournament? The teacher shook his head and explained no. 2 one-on-one matches will be held between the first and second teams in the regional table. The winning team there will go nationwide. Actually, from now on the tournament will start, after that it will be the round of 16 teams. Chae-huk couldn't believe the scale was so big. Min-hon asked if I had drawn lots yet. D-ho looked at the paper and read the results. The results of the group draw had also been announced, but the ratio of majors and non-majors was the same. In the Ghyonggi area, the high school group was ranked A. Jonghwa, Kwyung Cheon, Goba and Deon Squirrel. Group B Hengkwang High School, Kwahyun, Gangrim, Sungue. Bak Min-chae expressed his attitude when he heard the names of his opponents. If so, before going to the national level, we can play against Sungue School, teacher D-ho said. If we pass the qualifying round then we can also play against Hengkwang. Min-chae asked with enthusiasm and asked him if he remembered. Lee Chae-huk, even if Sungue died, he would still win. Chae-huk seemed to understand what he meant and smiled and replied of course. What Sungue, we will go to the national tournament and chase everyone. D-ho smiled happily at the fighting spirit of the students. Yes, you must be so determined. If you have finished wearing it then let's start practicing now, everyone shouted in unison. Chae-huk still felt unsatisfied with the shirt, it was a bit too big, and Min-hon over here shyly called teacher. D-ho suddenly turned around and asked, "What's wrong, Min-hon, do you have any questions?" He handed out a piece of paper and said, "This is the consent form, I'm sorry for submitting it late." Teacher D-ho said okay. But when he looked at the commitment, he realized there was something unusual. This signature, Min-hon, this. Did you sign it yourself? He hesitated for a long time before saying honestly, "Could you please skip this one time? If I get to the national finals, I will say that I can only accept the feelings of my students." At that time, I definitely had to say it and ask my parents' permission. Min-hon quickly replied, "Yes, thank you, teacher." At Min-hon's house, when his mother was about to go out, then discovered an envelope placed neatly on the table. She opened it and read it attentively. It turned out that it was Min-hon's transcript. It was surprising that his academic results were always good. His mother also changed her mind. Now it's worth resting. Time gradually passed while filling in those shortcomings. August arrived at Hengkwang High School Hall. The teams participating in the competition all lined up neatly to listen to the competition regulations and began the opening ceremony of the National High School Volleyball Tournament. Chae-huk's team was extremely serious before entering the competition. He took a deep breath to regain his composure. The teacher sat in the coach's row and looked around. There were really many people there. Of these, only 2 teams made it to the national finals. Suddenly someone called out, "The player Lee D-ho." A girl looked at him with a friendly smile. The journalist had not seen her again after a long time. She took the initiative to ask, "Yes, it's been a while since I sat next to you, is it okay?" The teacher happily replied, "Yes, of course." And So-hai is very curious about his current life. "I heard that after retirement you will prepare to be a coach. Are you here as a coach?" D-ho replied, "I am a coach at Deon Squirrel High School." She was extremely surprised. Deon Squirrel School, if it was Deon Squirrel High School. The kids at that time. D-ho turned around and said, "Yes, that's not a professional club, you know." Ms. So-hai still wondered. I had met him by chance before, but why did he choose that place and not another professional club? Mr. D-ho also honestly shared, "That was my school. My nephew, I think it will be interesting." Another surprise coming to So-hai. He raised his face and introduced, "Yes, number 5 is my nephew." She bluntly said, "He doesn't look like you at all." D-ho jokingly asked me if I was more handsome, right? Ms. So-hai suddenly changed to another story. Dawn High School's first match with Jonghwa High School, right? If you want to get into the top 2 of the region, you must defeat Kwyung Cheon School. Or win one of the 2 contests, Jonghwa and Goba. What do you think? Before that question, the teacher had to think for a long time before coming up with an answer. "Gotta win, that's all I can do, and my kids ain't bad." Deon Squirrel School's football team is moving to the seating area. Suddenly someone called them over. Ji-ho burst out laughing, surprised at how beautiful the uniform was. He politely greeted Ji-ho. It had been a long time since he last saw everyone. He replied friendly, "It's been a long time since I last saw you. How are you?" "How are you, Electric Pole?" Dan-hu smiled and asked, "I'm fine." "Have you eaten a lot of malt candy?" Ji-ho said it was delicious. "Anyway, we'll finally meet each other at the competition and fighting." Dan-hu also didn't forget the lightning match. "Isn't Group A also held at Jonghwa High School? You guys also try your best. See you at the national match." Ji-ho looked surprised and asked if it was really national. Chae-huk replied with a very confident attitude, "We will definitely go to the national tournament." He talked as if he wanted to provoke, "We will go there." first and wait for you guys to hurry up. We must do it. Chidon, while fixing his hair, asked the Dion Squirrel School football team with a sarcastic attitude, have you practiced yet, frog? Jiho spoke up to stop Chidon, stop moving around like that again. Minhon couldn't control his annoyance and said, stop, it's not funny. He forced a smile and asked Minhon, what's wrong? Chidon calmly continued, it's okay to be unhappy, but try your best anyway. Jiho saw that the situation was getting tense and told us to go. Everyone started talking happily together. A member of the Sungue team walked at the end of the line with a haughty look on his face, observing each of his opponents, including Minchia. The other side too. Are the Sungue school kids? Don't pay attention anymore. Suddenly Minche called out to the other guy, sorry, I graduated from Sungue school, you know me, right? I hate to tell you this. I will qualify for regionals. I don't know what first place is, but after qualifying, I will directly step on the Sungue school. I will not lose to the Sungue school. In the face of those threatening words, that guy still calmly said that. Anyway, we didn't lose, and I don't want to lose to you guys, come here. Before entering the ring, he gave his students a few strategies. This was our team's first official match. Zhang Qua is clearly a formidable opponent, but if he wins, if you win the first match, the next match will be less burdensome. As I said, Zhang Qua almost deploys attacks on both flanks. Above all, numbers 6 and 9 are often used for mobile attacks but are also flexible in many other positions. So keep a wide fielding position on both sides and pay attention to the center as much as possible. If you don't have good throwing power, just touch the ball. The rest of the members should try to do what they practiced, especially Sidon. Don't do anything else, just do it like you practiced, then let's play. Starting to rotate, both teams came out ready to fight. Minhon hugged the ball tightly, trying to encourage herself, because this was the first time. Needing to be stable, he used all his strength to throw the ball towards his opponent. The opponent was happy to have blocked that throw. Okay, well, let's get ready. The members of Zhangqua School were extremely excited. The speed of passing the ball is faster than the speed of light. The match is falling into the most thrilling part. Captain Truong Zhangqua seems to have found the opponent's hole, the position to block the ball of the potential 3 blockers at a wide distance. He must be confident in reading the ball, right? He raised his hands then. Follow me, good coordination with teammates. Ingug recognized their transmission. The speed of hitting the ball very decisively gave Truong Zhangqua team 1 point. Ingut worriedly spoke much faster than he thought. Chaehuk was still cheerfully encouraging, it's okay, now they have 1 point and it's okay. The referee sits high above, controlling the match. Chaehuk jumped high and prepared to smash the ball over the opponent's net. But something seems to make him hesitate. He finally managed to kick the ball over the net. Your team quickly seizes the opportunity. Great is the dead ball, take it. When teammates heard that, they quickly caught the ball. The ball flies through the air. Ingout looked at the ball's path and calculated that if only reading the ball's path would be too late. Before that, focus a little. The head opponent, Zhangqua, turned around and asked with a playful attitude, are you concentrating? The ball was passed to each other by students at Zhangqua School. A very decisive smash helped your team score 1 more point. Teacher Diho stood outside watching and was equally nervous. From the start, he attacked faster and more dangerously than I thought. Those 3 people have worked well together since they were on the same middle school volleyball team. Go Dongju grinned and said, guys, I'm in very good shape right now, just pass it on. The scoring machine is on. Hong Dudoan said as he stretched his muscles that he felt a bit uncomfortable. Hearing that, Hyan Saikwo spoke up teasingly, open your mouth and I'll feed you. Teacher Diho, think about a new strategy. We have to start with those 3 people. Chaehan will play the leading role, Minhon will be the second passer, Dan Hu and Ingu will be the middle blockers. Takyang will be the counterpart of Min Chia, the master of Sidon, will be libero. At first, the Zhangqua team will be the first to serve the ball. The students of Dion Squirrel School are trying to coordinate with each other. Well done. Minche is coming on the left. Teacher Diho felt that this opponent was indeed not average. Mobile attacks from the middle block and the attacker cannot cover the entire field. Saikwo glanced at the message to his teammates this time. Turn back to which side of the dongworm, pass 2 to find the best route and use both flanks appropriately. Inguk looked at the ball's path and speculated, it's late again. The ball once again flew easily across the field towards Dion Squirrel School. Minchia rushes out like the wind, caught the ball in time. Chaehuk kept praising him, good job of saving him, Minche, it was too short, come here and get the ball. Minhon took a stance and prepared to receive the ball. As soon as he touched the ball, he immediately passed it to Chaehuk, and the basic reason why the attack could happen in that way was, your team catches the cards and immediately counterattacks first. Minhon gritted her teeth in anger. The shadow buffer was too long so it could be read. That libero is taking advantage of all our attacks in a favorable position to receive the ball. He is Cheon Jiho. Nothing has already been robbed of its flow. The advantage is in favor of Truong Jonghwa with a score of 4-0. Dan who standing outside here shares with the teacher, if In-guk couldn't even touch it like that even if you were with him. The teacher explained that numbers 6 and 9 were in the back circle because we had already planned them, so he could just work as usual, and I had also practiced reading the ball. Right? The problem now is that In-guk seems stressed so he can't fulfill his role as well as he thought. Sure to spread as long as they support the skills of shielding between flank attacks that can be blocked in the current state is ineffective, if so then we Kyung must quickly turn back. The score is still in favor of the Jonghwa team with a score of 5-0. The right to serve still belongs to Truong Jonghwa. Saikwo held the ball in his hand and calmly asked, should I take you guys this time? Pass 2 and hide it well, right? If so, there is no need to give it to libero. Even though the shot was unexpected, Chae-huk was still quick to catch it. Minhon glanced at him and said Chae-huk was very good. Minhon touched the ball and was about to pass it to Kyung. When the ball was flying slowly closer to him, the opponent was also ready to attack. Tae-wyung glared. Put all your strength into your arm to hit the ball so decisively that your opponent can't react in time. Hongdu Dion glanced at the shadow's path and silently said, what is it? It's so difficult but it can be done. Cheon Jiho attempted to grab the ball but failed. Jerked all over. Mizan Sohai was extremely excited by the breakthrough play of Dawn SOC school students. Like a bullet passing through even light, the blocker had no way to block such a fast attack. Ta Kyung took a deep breath to regain his composure. The score has been raised to 5-1. Serving right now belongs to Dion Squirrel School. The school stadium map is displayed on the board. The referee signals the ball to be kicked. Everyone tries their best to block the ball. I can't help but shout out loud, Minhon. Hong Dudon opened his mouth in surprise and was the opposite. The ball just passed through your team's middle line with ease. Jiho tries to block the ball with his life. Hyun Saikwo come out here. In-gut tries to read your team's play style. The batter runs wildly from left to right so it's not easy to stop. This time, when he saw Go Dong Gyeoi running towards the right, he secretly guessed that it was the right side. Suddenly the dongworm changed direction and ordered the left side to open. The dongworm's 2 legs move quickly. In-guk couldn't have predicted such a sharp left turn. A very decisive smash. Ji-hun was very focused on this pass. The speed of the falling ball was dizzying. The score increased to 6-1 in favor of Truong Jonghwa. Dudon complained, number 11 is no joke, isn't there only 2 elite people? Ji-hun reminded him that Hong Dudon is too noisy, don't make such a fuss. The teacher stood thoughtfully thinking, if it was normal, he could prevent an open attack like just now. It's not a shadow, it's chasing someone else, huh? Thanks to Ta Kyung to attract everyone's attention. A voice on the field said, sorry I'm worried the number 11 side missed the back row. The D-Ho has a lot of concerns. Chae-huk is also attacking very well but In-guk concentrated as much as possible. The score has increased to 6. This time, the school team serves the ball. Everyone's name is displayed on the board very clearly. People fight each other very fiercely. Dan Hu shouted to announce that he could block it. Hong Dudon frowned. Why is he so tall? Min Chae passed the ball to Minhon. Everything seems to be going according to plan. It's good that senior Dan Hu is already on the front line. Now it's our turn. Chae-huk used all his skills and strength to hit the ball. The Dion Squirrel team continuously scored goals to increase the current score to 6-3, continue to increase to 6-4, then again 6-5. People who watched the match live were extremely surprised. To be honest, I thought Dawn SOC High School would lose without having to waste any effort, but they were closer than I thought, and the teamwork was much better. Then number 9 still hasn't reached its full potential. There's still hope for Dawn SOC School. Mizan Sohai said it was still too early to judge, so this time they had to try their best. If they missed the right to serve this time, the score gap would be larger. The ball has gone beyond the field of play. The referee raises his flag to announce that the ball is out of court. The match was raised to 7-5 in favor of Truong Jonghwa. The starting lineup has changed slightly. Kyung forced a smile and said sorry, it was too strong. A formidable opponent passed by Kyung, surprising him. The teacher also realized that another opponent had appeared. Then, with his outstanding height, he passed the 3rd year and held the main position. This height of more than 2 meters makes Kyung look up, the person blocking the giant 206 cm. His face had no expression at all. That person is none other than Song Engu, who holds the middle position in the Jonghwa team. Engu stood still like a statue looking at everyone. Ta Kaiyang was still shocked when he saw his formidable opponent standing in front of him. Chae-huk was equally surprised. He's so tall, he seems to be over 2 meters tall. Isn't that size? He's probably taller than Ingug too, right? The audience also gasped in surprise. It's a waste of money when he studies at Jonghwa School. Chung-ho highly appreciates Ngu's talent. Here it is, but Engu, the most notable midfield player of the year, if he is determined, he will be able to surpass other schools, not just Ho Chae-on. When enrolling in Jonghwa High School, everyone was suspicious. The result though, he was included in the starting lineup. Bak Tsang-hun is located in the middle of Truong Jonghwa, sitting and thinking in a corner. This round of serving belongs to Truong Jonghwa. The tournament table has changed. Hong Dudaon passed the ball powerfully. His quick hands were able to block that serve. When the ball is flying around in the air, then Min-hon is already ready to receive it. It would not be good to just pass it to Mi Kwayang, but the other team's number 4 is too high. Kaiyang prepares to smash the ball over his team's net. Engu just needs to stand and raise his arms high to easily block the path of the ball. His face remained frozen without any expression. Ta Kaiyang was extremely uncomfortable with his opponent's height. The current score is 8-5 in favor of Truong Jonghwa. The match went on like that. Dan Hu paused to think. This time it's a quick attack in the center. Just being distracted for a few seconds, he let the ball pass by his face easily. The ball hit the ground on Dawn Squirrel School's field. Dan Hu is shocked at his fast attack speed. I couldn't believe how fast it was, either. The teacher also knows the difficulties his student is facing. Because it's afternoon, the time to get to the destination is quick and it's very difficult to get to the aquaria. Not only digging, it's unbelievable how tall he is. 206 centimeters is difficult. The referee signals to serve the ball. Chae-huk is still doing his role very well. Since it's a serve, there's no liberette, but we can't keep being dragged away, so we'll attack with our highest attack. Dan Hu tried to jump as high as he could, but Engu just needs to tiptoe and raise his hand to get over everyone's head. Dan Hu frowned. What did he think about this wall? He was finally able to put the ball over the opponent's net. His team suddenly shouted to block it. He pretended very well. Hyun Saikwo seems to have seized the opportunity right now. Engu prepares to polish. Dan Hu here is very focused. Jonghwa team was extremely surprised. Dan Hu is calculating the time difference. The ball finally hits the ground. Everyone at Jonghwa School is commenting on Chae-gu's disastrous mistake. Chae-gu, today is my first attack. He replied apologetically, I will improve now. Gu heard that and smiled and said, no, it's okay, what are you talking about, just do it as usual. The teacher stood outside so impatiently that he was sweating. The score quickly increased since the number 4 was added. In volleyball, due to rotation, each team's tactics are deployed differently depending on the situation before and after. Kaiyang jumped as high as he could to catch the ball, but luck did not smile on him, he was dead. Dudaon wondered, number 5 was constantly the target, so why were there only 2 people attacking? So number 7 was a front screen, if before the attack was focused on both sides using the mobile attack. Dongworm promptly blocked the path of the ball. After number 4 moved forward, the attack focused on the center apricot and it became enough of a threat. The players on the flanks also have more freedom. The balloon flew continuously without stopping. The coach at Jonghwa School smiled and said that the position that best shows the difference in height is the person blocking the ball. No matter how high you jump or how fast you jump, the time it takes to reach the top is different. Is a physical limit, of course the blocker needs to be tall first. Sang-hun still sat quietly without saying a word. Faced with this situation, the teacher decided that we needed to consult. The referee signaled to pause the match. Let's start discussing new fighting methods and movements for everyone to hear. First, the blocking team should close the distance a bit in the current state. Dan Hu does not need to just read, on the contrary, reading will be more disadvantageous for an attack that happens too quickly. If you think you will have a quick attack, then boldly jump up and deploy it on both sides. Everyone answered in unison yes. Teacher D-ho continued, he knows that Tae-hwayong and Dan Hu are the most important people because we need to narrow the score, but you don't know that at times like this you need to spread out wider, you need expand your options for blocking your opponent's ball. Min-hon voiced his opinion, if I pass it to Senior Si-don I'm worried it will get worse. Si-don sitting next to me wondered. Teacher D-ho immediately answered no. Instead of forcing it with a single option exploited in many different ways, the return value is better if you can't trust the SI Don. Isn't there a C-hump in the back? Chae-huk excitedly told Min-hon. That's right, this kid trust me, he said he'd get points. SI Don also kept asking him, you don't trust me, why can't you trust me? Trust me, Min-hon tiredly replied, yes, I know. He said Min-chae is doing very well. If you feel like you're about to attack a fourth time, fill the space in front of you first. If there's too much space, Min-chae will pretend right away. All of us please stick to the shielding well, use the time difference more than the gathering time. Truong Jonghwa is far away from its opponents with an astonishing score of 13 to 5 points. The list of contestants appearing on the field is also clearly publicized. Hong Dudon held the ball in his hand and thought carefully before serving. Is there anything different? First, just do it as usual. The ball flies straight towards the Chae-huk. Min-chae ran and told Lee Chae-huk to come here. Prepare to attack. Engu secretly thought that if they pretended to be the main attacker, it would have been exposed all the time. Min-chae has touched the ball and is passing it towards Chae-huk. Engu announced to his teammates, you will go to the back. Min-hon speculates that if we have to attack the weak point. Sang-hun observed the match closely. Suddenly he spoke to the right. Si-don encouraged himself, if that's the case, then be bold. He gave a smile full of calculation. Hong Dudon's eyes must move continuously to be able to control the path of the ball. The ball is rushing very fast towards Jonghwa Truong's yard. Min-hon worriedly asked if he had touched the field yet. Something made Chae-huk freeze for a few seconds. Si-don smiled full of confidence. Du-dion used all his skills to block the ball. Let's remake Si-quo. The ball was passed back to the Dion team's side of the field. Du-dion breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately he had prepared in advance. He looked towards where Sang-hun was sitting. He also looked at him and nodded as if to signal something. He also smiled and nodded in response. Si-don scratched his head regretfully. It was an opportunity to score points. If I do something that always makes the score worse. The current score is 14-5 in Truong Jonghwa. The list of participating contestants has been slightly adjusted. The match was still extremely exciting. Kyung suddenly glared at something. The ball is flying towards the Jonghwa team. The other team's player caught the ball, so he confidently announced, good Engu, ball number 11 is probably dead. Du-dion panicked and ran while watching the direction of the ball's movement. The bewildered Dan-hu is attacking the center again. Min-chae is so focused that he doesn't dare to blink even once. He remembered the words that the Diho teacher had once told him, when you feel like you can attack quickly, boldly jump up, and the Mi-chae should also be ready to get into position. He took a long step to gain momentum, then told himself to be brave. Si-quo still calmly confided, you scared me, I was wondering if you would come after the game ended. It was almost a big deal. The ball continuously touches the field. Once, then twice. Jonghwa still leads with a score of 17-7. Participating members remain the same. Si-quo stood here watching Min-hon's every move. Then he immediately turned away. Gave a smile full of contempt, because Min-hon is nothing special, right? The teacher frowned and thought, this is the weakest rotation of Truong Jonghwa, who rarely uses attacks from behind, and the gap is already 10 points. I observed all the rotations so I wanted to. The teacher turned to ask, Ingug, are you nervous? He honestly answered yes, a little bit, but it's better than before. He psychologically said that so he should do it slowly anyway. The teacher decided to let them win this lightning. Ingug was surprised and asked if we would lose. He explained that it's not just like losing this match, it's very difficult to reverse the situation. So don't try to be too lenient, just pretend to be submissive enough, reduce their physical strength, let's start the next attack. Don't feel pressured, try playing slowly and grasp the feeling. When you get on the field, you have to convey it to your friends. On the field everything happens too fast and too dangerous, changing direction and then blocking. Min-hon looks back at the problem, what's wrong? It feels like he's constantly being attacked. Ji-ho rolled with all his might to catch the ball. Dan-hu's face showed clear fear. He muttered in his head, be brave, be brave, be brave. In Dan-hu's mind, he replayed every heart-stopping moment of the match. Dan-hu suddenly stood still like a lost soul. The defensive Min-chae at the back is trying to do his best. The coach at Jonghwa School smiled and said, that player knew very well that he was defeated by such a big time difference. Please learn this carefully. A middle barrier shows your level through it. Dan-hu began to feel exhausted because the match was too fierce. Teacher Diho seemed to sense that Dan-hu was also shaken. The current match has a score of 19-8 in favor of Truong Jonghwa. The starting lineup has been adjusted by the coach. Chung-ho was so surprised by this score that he was speechless. They rose to 7-5 and were pulled to 19-8 in 3 rotations even though they are called a normal club. Is this quite right, senior? Ms. and Sohai hesitated for a long time and then said, I expected this to happen to some extent but didn't expect it to be like this. Teacher D-Ho fell into a state of contemplation again. I didn't tell the kids because I was afraid they would lose their spirit even when the next match it was just like this. Lightning. We need to put that giant aside and look for breakthroughs elsewhere. Min-chi caught the ball very well. Chae-hook also caught it with one touch, so wonderfully. Start well by touching the ball in defense and then deploy the attack from the other 3 players. Even in such chaos, he still managed to pass very accurately. Thanks to that, they can continuously remove the blocker regardless of whether the ball is inside or outside the field. Dong Jiam is arguing in the yard, right? Isn't it in the yard? Saikwo replied. If you close your eyes and look, you know it's outside the yard. Truong Jonghwa leads with a score of 29. Do Di-han and Ji-hun join forces to push the ball toward the Dion team's field. Ji-ho chased the ball and said, sorry Saikwo, come here and pass it up. A line of thought suddenly appeared in Ji-hun's head, and even though that opponent was not a good football player, but as long as the ball is raised, then I'll score points for my team. Wait, those players were clearly in the rotation earlier, couldn't it? Truong Jonghwa continuously scored points when the ball kept touching the ground. For the second time, the Dion Squirrel team let their opponents score easily. Sometimes Chae-hook can easily get the ball out of the net. He smiled confidently and said he had found the breakthrough point. The ball was hit very hard this time. At the end of the match, a temporary victory went to Truong Jonghwa with a score of 25-13. Everyone was tired, so the teacher told them to work hard. You heard that a while ago, right? Let's give them Lightning 1 and then we'll start from Lightning 2. Now let us catch up with them.